live from the CSI Baseball Complex on the campus of the College of Staten Island. CSI Sportsnet presents exclusive NCAA Division III men's baseball coverage. We are back on the air for the first time in nearly a full month, and today's matchup will feature the Dolphins of Mount St. Vincent taking on the Dolphins of the College of Staten Island. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Joe Foreman, joined by Nick Durst for the first time. We'll be bringing you all of the action live from behind home plate during today's game, a Dolphins versus Dolphins matchup from the College of Staten Island in the unofficial home opener for CSI. The Dolphins have already played 9 games this season, playing to a record of 4-5. They have not played a true home game yet in 2019. They've played games at Curtis High School and Staten Island Technical High School on the island. They also went down to South Carolina for a spring training trip. And we're going to get right underway here as we had some work to do before coming onto the air today. We should be good the rest of the way, as stepping into the box to lead things off for Mount St. Vincent is Jake Blinstrup. And the first pitch of the game from Daniel Garcia of the Dolphins is in for a called strike one, and we are underway from the College of Staten Island for the first time in 2019. Here comes the 0-1 from Garcia, and that's taken up and away. Just a few moments, I'll have the numbers for Daniel Garcia on the season for the College of Staten Island after this next pitch. And that pitch misses outside, running the count to 2-1. The numbers on Garcia this year: he's pitched to a 6.14 ERA, a record of 0-1. He's appeared in a pair of games, one of those being a start. In 7 1/3 innings, he's allowed 12 base hits, 6 runs, 5 of those earned. And Garcia has now missed with 3 straight, running the count to 3-1. Here comes the 3-1 pitch, and that's fouled away. In between innings, we'll talk a bit more about what the Dolphins have done so far this year. We didn't get an extended pregame in, but we do have a lot of Dolphins baseball to talk about. We actually got started a bit early here from the CSI Baseball Complex, just before 4 o'clock. So in between innings, we'll stay on the air with you and talk a bit about what the Dolphins have done so far this year in 2019, as the payoff pitch is fouled straight back into the screen once again. Blinstrup steps back into the box. He'll see another 3-2 pitch. And that misses downstairs for ball 4, and Mount St. Vincent has a leadoff base runner to get things started. That will bring up Matt Denorcia. Denorcia comes to bat with the leadoff man having reached on a walk for Denorcia on the season. He's hitting at .357, good for third on this Mount St. Vincent ball club. And the first pitch he sees is in for a called strike. Garcia takes a look over towards first base. Not a big lead yet for Blinstrup. We'll see if he looks to increase that lead as Garcia gets set to deliver the 0-1 pitch. Takes a long look in and will attempt to pick off over to first base, but Blinstrup slides back in safely. And 1 the count. Garcia once again takes a long look in. Here's the pitch, and that misses down and away, evening the count at 1. Taking a look at the stolen base numbers for Jake Blinstrup over at first base. He has stolen 4 bases on the season in 4 attempts, so he's perfect. Swiping bags so far in 2019. We'll see if he looks to run at some point during this at-bat after reaching with a leadoff walk. Here comes the 1-1. And that's taken on the outside corner for a called strike 2. Demarco third on Mount St. Vincent in batting, but leads the team with 10 base hits on the season. He also leads the team in at-bats with 28. Here comes the 1-2 pitch. That's it slowly on the ground, over to short, and opting to throw over to first was Ciancio, and he gets the out over at first base. Retiring Matt Denorcia, advancing to second is Jake Blinstrub, and there is one away. That will bring up Anthony Massero. Massero comes in hitting at .320 in 25 at-bats so far this year. And he lines one into right field for a base hit. Playing it on a hop is Nick Miola. His throw is cut off by Stephen Kalika, the second baseman, and the first run of the game is home early in this one. Mount St. Vincent leads 1-0. That will bring up the cleanup man, Michael Grisanti. Grisanti hitting up above 400 in 22 at-bats so far this season. He is second on this Mount St. Vincent team in hits with 9. He's driven in 6. That's tied with Matt Denorcia for the team lead in RBIs. And Grisanti takes a called strike on the outside corner. Once again, taking a look over towards first base is Garcia. Long look in. Here comes the 0-1. And that breaking ball is in for a called strike 2. Garcia got himself into some trouble earlier in this inning, having to pitch from behind in the count. Now ahead in the count, 0-2. Looking to limit the damage to 1 in the top half of this first inning. And Grisanti will call time. Runner going, and that one is swung on and missed for strike 3, but swiping second base is Anthony Massero. So Daniel Garcia picks up the strikeout, but advancing to second is Massero. He's now in scoring position with 2 away, and that will bring up Eric Zimmerman. And Zimmerman looks at one just low for a ball. Zimmerman comes in a 200 hitter in 20 at-bats. Want to know the count. Garcia takes a pair of looks towards second base, and there's a big swing and a miss by Zimmerman, evening the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Of Zimmerman's 4 base hits on the season, 2 have gone for extra bases, both doubles. So he's certainly a threat, batting out of the 5 spot in this Mount St. Vincent batting order. And he looks at another pitch that just misses. Looks like the Dolphins wanted that call, didn't get it, and the count runs to 2-1. And 2-1 is down in the dirt for ball 3. First base is open. I'm sure the Dolphins would like to avoid prolonging this inning more than necessary. And Garcia now one pitch away from issuing his second walk of this opening frame. Three balls and one strike to count. Garcia takes a couple of looks over towards second and misses high with ball four. So that is the second walk issued by Daniel Garcia in what has been a first inning that has seen him work very hard to this point. And now he will face Zachary Saunders with runners on first and second and two away. Saunders is hitless on the season thus far in 6 at-bats. And here he hits one toward the hole. It is knocked down over at third base. But having no play was Anthony Dimarco, and I'm sure that will go down as a base hit. We'll see. That one seemed destined for the hole on the left side. Regardless, that will load the bases with two away in the top of the first. Now nowhere to put a man. And coming up to bat, I don't have a first name on my lineup sheet for the batter. I'll have to check my official roster in just a moment. Isidoros Bartsiakas will be the batter. Bartsiakas hitting at .091 on the season in 11 at-bats. He scored 5 runs thus far in 2019, but only recorded one base hit. That was an RBI base hit. Or at the very least, he drove in a run by getting on via a walk. And quickly, he's ahead in the count 3-0, so he may do the same right here, assuming that is indeed how he drove in a run. But Bartsiakas with only a single RBI on the year and one base hit. Looking to pick up his second RBI here. Ahead in the count 3-0. And he takes outside for ball 4. So Bartsiakas picks up his second RBI of the season, this time with certainty via the base on balls. And Mount St. Vincent has an early 2-0 lead.
Joe, we're going to have an early mound visit here as Garcia has been going deep into counts quite often to start this inning, and his pitch counts are probably getting up there higher than they would have wanted for the first inning.
I think that's certainly the case, Nick. I'll have to check and see if our live stats are up and running for an official pitch count, but Mount St. Vincent has put together some very good at-bats in this first inning. They've now drawn 3 walks, and if you're the College of Mount St. Vincent, a fan of that Dolphins team, you have to like what you've seen from your hitters so far. So it will be Matt Albert coming to the plate, the number 8 hitter for this Mount St. Vincent lineup. I'll be referring to Mount St. Vincent as Mount St. Vincent for the rest of the game, and I'll be referring to CSI as Staten Island as often as I can. But if I slip up and say Dolphins, know that I am referring to the College of Staten Island. But for our viewers that are fans of Mount St. Vincent, I'll do my best to refer to CSI as Staten Island or CSI the rest of the way. And Garcia misses yet again. I'll check the live stats and see if those are up and running and try and get a pitch count on Garcia if I can. But he's thrown quite a few pitches in this first inning, and live stats are up and running. So Garcia's pitch count now at 24 in the opening frame, and he's really laboring through this Mount St. Vincent lineup to this point as he evens up the count right there at 1 ball and 1 strike. Here comes the 1-1 pitch, and that's in for a called strike 2. So Garcia's 1 pitch away from finally getting out of this first inning. And that's down in the dirt for ball 2, evening the count at 2-2. If you're Garcia, of course you'd like to try and avoid running the count full in this spot with the bases loaded. Nowhere to put Albert. And he lines one out towards center field, got under it, slams his bat down in frustration. And making the catch out in center field for the Dolphins was Nick Falcone. So we'll head to the bottom half of the first. Our score 2-0. College of Mount St. Vincent leading the College of Staten Island. And as promised, we'll stay right here. And very quickly, I will run through what the College of Staten Island has done so far this season. I mentioned the trip to South Carolina to open up the year, beginning with Fredonia in South Carolina. The Dolphins split a doubleheader there, losing the first game 11-2 and winning the second game 3-2. They continued their trip in South Carolina with a meeting against Valley Forge, winning their lone matchup with Valley Forge 6-3. The back half of that doubleheader, it was scheduled to be a doubleheader anyway, was rained out, so only one game was played against Valley Forge. Dolphins had a big lead in that second game, but rain cut it short. Did not go down as an official game, and the College of Staten Island will settle for a single victory over Valley Forge 6-3. The last team that the College of Staten Island took on down in South Carolina was Chatham in a doubleheader. They won the second game 14-6 after dropping game number 1 7-5. So they wrapped up the trip in South Carolina with a record of 3-2. Came back to Staten Island for their first game played in New York this year against St. Joseph's College of Brooklyn. That was a game that I was able to attend at Staten Island Tech, my former high school, and the Dolphins lost a heartbreaker 10-9. Had a chance to tie that game in the 8th inning on what would have been an inside-the-park home run. Instead, forget who it was that hit that ball that rolled all the way onto the track out in right field, but he lost his footing around first base, and that prevented him from scoring. That run was stranded over at third base. Dolphins lost the game 10-9, and then a doubleheader this past weekend against Maritime. Dolphins earning a split in that one, winning the first game 4-3, losing the second game 10-1, and that brings us into today's matchup against Mount St. Vincent. CSI enters with a record of 4-5. Mount St. Vincent at 2-5, entering this single 9-inning affair from the College of Staten Island this afternoon. Starting lineup for the College of Staten Island, and this one will be as follows. Leading things off will be the left fielder, number 3, Robert Miglino. Batting second, the third baseman, number 39, Anthony Dimarco. In the 3 spot is the second baseman, number 2, Jet Navertney. Batting cleanup, the designated hitter, number 5, Andrew Nathan. Nick Miola will bat 5th and play right field. He wears number 23. Stephen Kalika, the first baseman, wearing number 22, will bat 6th. Number 9, the shortstop, Michael Ciancio, will bat 7th. The catcher, number 13, Salvatore Trancucci, will bat 8th. And the center fielder, number 8, Nick Falcone, will bat 9th. They will face Mount St. Vincent starting pitcher Peter Sanderson. He wears number 28. And in just a moment, I will have the numbers for Sanderson on the season. It's his first pitch of the game. Misses low in the dirt for ball 1. Very quickly, I'll try and update my scorecard with the lineups before I get you the numbers on Peter Sanderson, as he delivers a 1-0 pitch, and that's taken downstairs for ball 2. For Sanderson on the season, he has appeared in 3 games. One of those starts has pitched to a record of 1-1 with an ERA of 3. In 9 innings pitched, Sanderson has allowed 7 base hits, 5 runs, 3 of those earned. He has walked 1 and struck out 12, allowing a pair of extra base hits, both doubles. Opponents hitting at .212 against him, as the count on Miglino evens up at 2 balls and 2 strikes. And Miglino takes a called strike 3 on the outside corner, and the first Dolphins batter of the game is retired. That will bring up Anthony Demarco. Demarco comes in struggling at the plate, hitting at .056 in 18 at-bats on the season. Demarco typically among the Dolphins' leaders in batting. Not the case so far in 2019. Still plenty of time to turn that around. And Demarco fouls that one back. Demarco, one of only a few Dolphins who's been here as long as I have. This is now my 4th year covering baseball on CSI Sportsnet. I've enjoyed it a great deal, and seeing the roster turnover throughout the last few years, something that really reminds you how long it's been, as Dimarco swings and misses at strike 3, and that ball down in the dirt got away for a moment, but they'll throw over to first base to complete the put out on Demarco for the second out.
Now batting the second baseman, number 2, Demarco.
And the first pitch to Jet Novertny is in for a called strike 1. Novertny leading the way and hitting for the Dolphins, batting .444 on the year in 27 plate appearances. He scored 8 runs as well, has 12 base hits, 4 triples for Novertny already on the season, to go along with a home run and 3 RBIs. That home run was hit at Staten Island Tech in that game against St. Joseph's College of Brooklyn. The first pitch that Novertny saw in that game drove it over the left center field wall. He's quickly behind in the count, 1-2, and looks at a ball down and away in the dirt. And the 2-2 pitch is offered at no, as first base umpire will say Novertny held up. That runs the count full, and Novertny, not someone you want to put on the base paths. Even with 2 outs, he has great speed. Certainly could come around to score a 2-out run, but instead he looks at a called strike 3. So after 1 inning of play, Mount St. Vincent leads the College of Staten Island by a score of 2-0. We'll head into the top half of the second inning when we come back. Dolphins of the College of Staten Island trailing 2-0.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you?
You know you do.
That's why we're here. We're free and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos. Go to GetSchooled.com.
Morning, Gary.
And we're back from the College of Staten Island. After 1, Mount St. Vincent leads Staten Island 2-0. And it was a very hard-working first inning for CSI starter Daniel Garcia. Was up over 25 pitches in that inning, surrendered a couple of runs. He walked 3 batters as well, and on top of that allowed a pair of base hits, both singles. No hard hit balls in that first inning against Garcia, but falling behind in the count really hurt him in inning number 1.
Joe, you have to wonder if he was a little nervous out there. This is his first game on his home field as a freshman, and maybe he was coming out overthrowing. Obviously, the weather plays a condition as well when it's cold out in early March, late March, and might have some impact on the grip.
Well, I can tell you that it is certainly difficult to call a game in the cold, especially outside at softball. We won't have to worry about that until tomorrow at the soonest, but we'll see if that game is played. The forecast certainly not favorable for tomorrow. We'll see. It seems very unlikely we'll have Sportsnet tomorrow if a game is played, but based on what I've seen from the forecast, it is not looking like there will be softball played tomorrow, though there was some softball played down in Florida over the past week. And when we have a break in the action, I'll talk about that a little bit more, as Tyler Paulino is leading things off for Mount St. Vincent in the top half of the second inning, count even at 1 ball and 1 strike. Paulino, the number 9 hitter. 8 Dolphins went to bat in the top half of the first for Mount St. Vincent. The College of Staten Island Dolphins went down in order in their half of the first. Count 2 balls and 1 strike on Tyler Paulino. And he skies one out to right field. Should be an easy play out there for Miola. He gets underneath it and makes the catch for out number 1. I'm not sure how familiar you are with the winds here at the CSI Baseball Complex, Nick, but Those fly balls certainly can play tricks on the outfielders. Not an easy outfield to navigate here at the College of Staten Island. And as a former student, I'm very accustomed to the wind gusts on campus. It can get very cold out there, and I can only imagine how tricky it is for those outfielders. And you see the flag out in left field really moving and the wind whipping. So we'll see if that plays a role in any fly balls hitting to the outfield in this game.
And obviously here, as we know, this field, the Staten Island Yankees used to play in it, so it's a much larger outfielder than you typically see. So lots of room out there for the outfielders to navigate.
That's a great point. And I know both of us spoke about it before we went on the air. We attended Staten Island Yankees games here many, many years ago. I was very young back then. That had to be about almost 20 years ago now. Staten Island.
Around 2000, I think, was the last season they were played here.
Staten Island Yankees were here, I believe, for 2 or 3 years, moving to the Richmond County Ballpark at St. George in 2001, I believe. I was a mini plan holder there as well. A lot of Staten Island Yankees baseball in my childhood. Now it's much more New York Mets, as the count is 2-0 on the Mount St. Vincent leadoff man, Jake Blindstrub. He reached on a walk in his first plate appearance. Looks at ball 3 right there. So Daniel Garcia once again working from behind in the count, and certainly don't want to do that against the top of the order, where there's typically some speed. Trying to set the table for the rest of the lineup. And the 3-0 pitch is in for a called strike 1. And that misses for ball 4. So drawing his second walk of the game is Jake Blindstrub. He's on for the second time in as many plate appearances, and that will bring up Matt DeNorcia.
Joe, that's already 4 walks so far in this game. So, as we mentioned, the pitch count is continuing to grow.
Once again, Garcia will find himself pitching with a man on base. The result was 2 runs in the previous inning. Dolphins haven't played since the 16th, so they've had 3 days in between their previous doubleheader against Maritime and today's matchup with Mount St. Vincent. Here comes the 1-0 pitch to DeNorcia, and he takes a called strike. Blindstrub inching his way further down the line between first and second. There he goes. And Trancucci will throw from his knees. And the throw is on time. He got him. Great throw by Salvatore Trancucci to cut down Jake Blindstrub trying to steal second base. And I wasn't certain that Trancucci even had a chance to get him throwing from his knees, but a very strong throw for the second out.
Definitely showing off the arm strength there, like you mentioned, from his knees on the money, right at the base. Didn't even have to move for the tag.
That's as impressive of a throw as you'll see from behind the plate. It's as if Trancucci knew he was running and was prepared to make that throw from his knees before the pitch was delivered. And that last pitch misses for ball 2, even in the count at 2, but a very impressive throw from behind the plate by Trancucci. First I've seen of him catching for this Dolphins team. Of course, I've seen Sean Becker get some work behind the plate. Becker got the start at Staten Island Tech last time I saw this Dolphins team play. And, of course, Becker, the catcher for this Dolphins club last year as well, saw a lot of Sean in 2018. Here comes another 2-2 pitch. And that misses just low for ball 3. Here comes the 3-2 pitch, and that's line foul. So DeNorcia will see at least one more, but at the very least, once again, another Mount St. Vincent hitter has made Daniel Garcia work. Here comes another payoff pitch, and that's fouled towards the parking lot to our right.
Hope that didn't hit my card, yeah.
I know some more of our staff has some cars out there as well. Fortunately, I don't have a car here on campus to worry about. One of the few benefits of not having a car is that you don't have to worry about a foul ball taking out your windshield, but I know we have some concerned coworkers down the hall. Here comes the 3-2 pitch, and that's hit out towards right field. Shallow. Miola coming in, sliding, and he makes the catch. What a play in right field by Nick Miola, making the sliding grab for the final out of this half inning. Through 1.5 from the College of Staten Island, Mount St. Vincent leads Staten Island 2-0. When we come back, Dolphins get their second turn at bat in the bottom half of inning number 2.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you?
You know you do.
That's why we're here. We're free and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos. Go to GetSchooled.com.
And we're back from the College of Staten Island. CSI trails Mount St. Vincent 2-0, heading into the bottom half of the second inning. For CSI, it will be 4, 5, and 6 in the batting order. Staten Island went down in order in their half of the first inning after Mount St. Vincent scored a pair in the top half of the first. Dolphins will be looking to break through against Peter Sanderson of Mount St. Vincent, who takes the mound for his second inning of work. Daniel Garcia has labored through a pair for the College of Staten Island, but was able to put up a 0 in that second inning, due in large part to some help he got from his players out there in the field.
That was obviously we had the great throw out at second base, and then the catch in right field, the sliding catch coming in, Miola, and obviously we mentioned earlier the wind playing a condition. That ball just kind of died, and he really had to get on his horse to make a great, amazing sliding catch.
It certainly did die out there. And taking a look at the wind pattern, I got to look at the flag earlier. The flag was really moving, not so much right now, but it looked like it was blowing from right to left toward the left field corner. So that really lines up with where that fly ball was hit, got knocked down by the wind, but Miola stays with it and makes the sliding grab to wrap up the top half of this second inning. And getting things started in the bottom half for the Dolphins is designated hitter Andrew Nathan. He's quickly behind 0-2. And he hits one softly on the ground right back to the mound, and Sanderson throws out Nathan for out number 1. That will bring up Nick Miola, who brought the top half of this second inning to a close with that sliding grab. Miola has been a staple in the middle of this Dolphins batting order over the last 2 years. As he looks at that pitch outside, and just something I've noticed, the home plate umpire really staying in his squatted position long after the pitch is received by the catcher. I'm almost expecting some balls to be called strikes, as that's in for a called strike 1. Sanderson working very quickly. Here comes the 1-1 pitch, and that's it down the line, just foul. Home plate umpire right on top of that one, wasted no time making the call. And that runs the count to 1 ball and 2 strikes. That's fouled away. Count remains 1-2. It's Stephen Kalika on deck behind Miola. Dolphins still looking for their first base runner. And Miola once again hits one foul down that third baseline. Another 1-2 pitch upcoming. That's down in the dirt for ball 2. Sanderson quickly ready for the 2-2 pitch. And that's at a mile high. And that ball is foul. Waiting for it to come down. Expected that one to land in front of us in the seats, but it travels over the press box and behind us. Definitely would have heard that one over the microphones.
Once again, the wind's coming into play. Blew that one right past us.
The wind definitely blowing in. And now the flag is really moving once again out in left field. Some strong wind out there. As that breaking ball didn't break, misses up and into Miola, running the count full. And that's hit through the hole on the left side for a base hit. And the Dolphins have their first base runner on a Nick Miola one-out single. Good at bat there from Miola, really staying alive, fell behind into a 2-strike count, worked it full, got a pitch he could handle, and pulled it through the left side, just out of the reach of Mount St. Vincent third baseman Michael Grisanti. So that will bring up the left-handed hitting Stephen Kalika. Kalika batting out of the 6th spot in the Dolphins' batting order. Kalika comes in a .273 hitter on the season as he looks at a called strike one. Not many Dolphins qualifying for batting statistics yet. I only have, I believe, 8 thus far. Most of them are in the starting lineup. I believe all but one. Sean Becker, the only qualifying Dolphin, not in today's starting lineup, as Kalika pulls one through the right side for a base hit. So Miola pulls one through the left side, and the left-handed Kalika pulls one through the right side. 2 Dolphins on, 1 away, and it will be Michael Ciancio coming to bat.
And for Kalika, his first hit here as a member of the Dolphins at CSI, hopefully the first of many.
I'm sure the Dolphins would love that to be the case. A lot of new faces in this Dolphins lineup. Kalika, one of them, and Ciancio, another. On deck, Salvatore Trancucci, another new player, and behind him, Nick Falcone, none of whom were in the lineup for CSI last year. Ciancio enters hitting at .208 on the season in 24 plate appearances. Those 24 plate appearances is good for 4th on the team. He's behind in the count 0-1. And he swings through that fastball. Now behind no balls and 2 strikes. No balls, 2 strikes the count. And that's hit sharply to short. Tough hop. It's handled over there. And Mount St. Vincent cannot turn the 6-4-3 double play. But a nice play there over at short by Tyler Paulino. Took a tough hop on him at the last moment. Was able to stay with it and get the out at second. But not nearly enough time to get Ciancio over at first. So with 2 outs and runners on the corners, it will be Salvatore Trancucci coming to the plate. Trancucci hitting at .091 in 11 plate appearances on the year. CSI looking to cut the Mount St. Vincent lead in half with a base hit. One that goes for extra bases could bring CSI even. On deck is the number 9 hitter Nick Falcone if Trancucci can keep the inning going here. And the pitch from Sanderson is in for a called strike one. And they'll check on Ciancio over at first, and he's not going anywhere yet. Would be interesting to see if Mount St. Vincent would elect to try and throw him out over at second. He has a nice lead over there at first, but if he goes, I'm not certain they try and throw him out. And that's ripped toward the third base coaching box foul, and evasive action taken over there. Trancucci now behind in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. And the The 0-2 pitch is down in the dirt. A good waste pitch with 2 strikes. Blocked nicely behind the plate by Albert. That runs the count to 1-2. A lot of room up the middle for Trancucci here. He can drive one back through the box, and that 1-2 pitch misses outside. Two balls and 2 strikes the count. And the pitch is on its way, and that's fouled back as Ciancio was running on that 2-2 pitch. But he'll have to head back over to first, and we'll see at least one more 2-2 offering. Two balls, 2 strikes, and 2 outs in the bottom half of the second. As Trancucci hits one softly over to short. Another tough hop, but it's handled nicely once again by Tyler Paulino, who throws out Trancucci to bring the Dolphins' threat to a close. Through 2 innings of play from the College of Staten Island, Mount St. Vincent leads Staten Island by a score of 2-0 when we come back the top half of the 3rd inning here on CSI Sportsnet.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex. Our score after 2, Mount St. Vincent 2 and Staten Island nothing. It's been a rough go of it so far for Daniel Garcia. Has thrown a lot of pitches over the first 2 innings. Seemed to settle down a bit later in that 2nd inning, and that was due in large part to some great plays in the field around him. We mentioned Salvatore Trancucci with a strong throw over to second base. Nick Miola with a tough sliding grab to bring that top half of the 2nd inning to a close. And the Dolphins did threaten in their half of the 2nd, failed to score. They'll be looking to Garcia to put up another 0 here in the 3rd. Garcia, as I get a look at the batting order for Mount St. Vincent, he will face 3, 4, and 5 in the Mount St. Vincent half of the 3rd. It will be Anthony Massero stepping into the box to lead off the top half of the 3rd inning. His team ahead 2-0. And the first pitch of the 3rd inning is down in the dirt for ball 1. Here comes the 1-0 pitch. And once again, Garcia will be working from behind in the count. 2 balls and no strikes. Middle of the order looming, so Garcia certainly doesn't want to put a man on to lead off this inning. Got into some trouble doing so in the 1st. And the 2-0 down in the dirt. And once again, Garcia finds himself behind 3-0. Here comes the 3-0 pitch. That's on the outside corner for a called strike 1. The 3-1 is skied out toward right field. Another chance for Miola. This time he will have the opportunity to get underneath it, down to one knee, and holds on. Looked like he may have been navigating the sun on that one. Either way, That put out looked a little bit difficult, and Miola able to handle it cleanly for out number 1. This is the cleanup hitter, Michael Grisanti, swinging at that pitch down in the dirt and falling behind in the count 0-1. Certainly not a pitch you want to chase, as Garcia's been around the zone quite often in this game. That's in for a called strike. And ahead in the count, 0-2, Garcia plunks the cleanup man, Grisanti, puts him on with 1 away, and that will set things up for Eric Zimmerman.
Now batting the first baseman, number 15, Eric Zimmerman.
Zimmerman drew a walk in his first at-bat. Taking a look down the line very quickly. I'll finish that off after this upcoming pitch. That's taken for a ball, but taking a quick look, I have 4 walks issued by Garcia as well as the hit batter. So he's issued 5 free passes in this game already. He put himself in a tough spot early, running up his pitch count and putting men on base. See if he can correct it moving forward, as that's down in the dirt for ball 2. But CSI really has employed pitching by committee so far this year, really have used several pitchers in most of their games. We've seen players typically getting starts coming in as relievers. Christian Capion has done some work in relief at least once so far this year, maybe more than that. As the 2-0 misses inside for ball 3. So once again, Garcia in danger of issuing a free pass. Garcia takes a look over towards first. 3-0 pitch upcoming. And that's down in the dirt for ball 4. So Garcia issues yet another walk. That's 5 to go along with the hit batter just moments ago. And that puts 2 runners on with 1 away for Zachary Saunders. Saunders has one of the 2 Mount St. Vincent base hits in this game, both coming back in the first inning. And the first pitch to Saunders is up and in for ball 1. Starting to see some stirring down in the Dolphins bullpen. They have a catcher out there. I'm not sure if that's a reliever with him. I believe it is. We'll see. And it looks like a short toss has begun. So the Dolphins perhaps prepping for a relief pitcher to enter this game. Garcia's had to work hard through the first 2 innings plus, as that's grounded foul, evening the count at 1 ball and 1 strike. Garcia already up at 60 pitches so far in this game. Make it 60, 60 even with that last foul ball. Here comes the 1-1. And that breaking ball's on the outside corner for a called strike 2. This is a big out here for Daniel Garcia to get. Certainly don't want to load the bases with less than 2 outs. At least with 2 outs, if the bases do wind up loaded, a foul ball won't beat you and bring in a run, as that's lined into left for a base hit, so you can forget that thought. As holding at third was Grisanti, advancing to second was Zimmerman, and on with his second base hit of the game is Zachary Saunders. Bases now loaded for Mount St. Vincent.
And the second baseman, number 24, Isidoros Marciocas.
Isidoros Bartziokis is the batter. He drew a walk back in the first. Has a chance to do some serious damage here with a base hit. Could potentially double up his team's lead from 2 to 4. Dolphins bring the corners in as that's fouled straight back. Once again, for those who joined us late, this is a 9-inning game, a single game between Mount St. Vincent and Staten Island. CSI looking to get even at 5 wins and 5 losses on the season. Mount St. Vincent looking to pick up their 3rd win in their first 8 games, entering with a record of 2-5. Bartziokis stepping out of the box, now ready for the 0-1 pitch. And that's swung on and missed. He's now in a 2-strike hole, and the out now, second out, even bigger for Daniel Garcia to get right now. He has nowhere to put Bartziokis. His team is already trailing by 2 runs. Bases loaded for Mount St. Vincent. See if Garcia can come through. Here's the 0-2 pitch. And a waste pitch there with 2 strikes runs the count to 1-2. Here comes the 1-2 offering. And that's off the outside corner, evening the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. This Mount St. Vincent lineup has demonstrated good patience at the plate, top to bottom, have not chased many bad pitches at all so far. Here comes the 2-2. That's it out to left field. And that's over the head of the left fielder, Maglino. It will roll all the way onto the warning track. 1 run is in. Here comes a second Mount St. Vincent run. No throw from Ciancio. And Mount St. Vincent has indeed doubled their lead. They are now up 4 runs on the College of Staten Island in the 3rd inning. Our score 4-0.
And that play, Joe, the outfielder's playing a little in, hopefully hoping for a play at the plate, and that the wind, like you mentioned, it's blowing out towards left, and it went right over his head.
And you made a great point there, Nick. I think the wind certainly carried that ball over the head of Maglino. Off the bat, I thought we had a sacrifice fly situation with the potential for a throw and maybe a play at the plate. Would have been a bit deep for a close play at the plate, but at the very least, I thought it was a sacrifice fly situation upcoming. Instead, that ball carried over the head of Maglino, rolled all the way onto the warning track, and brought home 2, as that is ripped foul by Matt Albert, who's behind in the count 0-1. Credit a pair of RBIs to Isidoros Bartziokis with that double. As the 0-1 misses up and in, evening the count at 1. But I've said it time and time again about this Dolphins team over my 3 years plus now covering Dolphins baseball. Of course, I'm referring to the College of Staten Island. They are never out of a game. It doesn't matter what the deficit is, what inning they are in. They always are playing hard and in the game, as their deficit will grow right here, perhaps to 6 runs, as a pair will indeed come home on the 2 RBI single off the bat of Matt Albert. And the road back for the College of Staten Island just got a lot more difficult, with Mount St. Vincent extending their lead to 6-0 in the 3rd inning.
We'll see if they make the pitching change here. That was Garcia's 72nd pitch of the afternoon.
And indeed, a pitching change is coming. We'll see who it is coming out of that Dolphins bullpen. Whoever it is didn't have much time to warm up. And I believe that is number 41, Alexis Santos, coming out of the Dolphins bullpen. I got to look at Santos in the Dolphins game against St. Joe's Brooklyn at the college, or I should say at Staten Island Technical High School. Pull up the numbers from that game in just a moment while we have a break in the action. Then I'll get the season numbers on Santos. In that game at Staten Island Tech, Santos had control issues. He allowed a pair of runs in the game, neither of which was earned, but he walked 5 through 55 pitches in only 2 innings. So in this game so far, Daniel Garcia has seen his pitch count run up to 77. He was chased just moments ago in favor of Santos out of the Dolphins bullpen, but Santos struggled with his control as well in the one game I saw him pitch against St. Joe's Brooklyn. So the Dolphins hope that he has corrected that and comes out throwing strikes in this one. They certainly need it.
Garcia and Santos, 2 of 6 freshman pitchers for the CSI Dolphins.
A lot of freshmen on this Dolphins team. Taking a look at the non-starters, the majority of them are freshmen. Really is remarkable how many young players the Dolphins have on this roster. Taking a quick look, only 3 seniors not in the starting lineup for CSI today, those being Christian Capion, Sean Becker, and Joseph DeCelie. DeCelie, in addition to this Dolphins team this year, if I'm not mistaken. I don't believe he was on the CSI roster last year. And in the starting lineup, Anthony Dimarco, of course, a senior, as I mentioned before, one of a few Dolphins who have been here as long as I have, calling games. It will certainly be a long road back for the College of Staten Island in this one, trailing by 6 runs. Still plenty of time to go in this game, but it is going to be difficult for CSI to get back into this one, as Peter Sanderson's looked pretty good on the mound so far for Mount St. Vincent. Hasn't given me, anyway, any reason to believe that he's going to crack and allow the Dolphins to break through for 6, but we've seen this Dolphins team stage greater comebacks than would be required in this one. So stay tuned, as we have a lot more baseball upcoming from the CSI baseball complex. The action now set to resume. Santos on the mound, pitching to the number 9 hitter, Tyler Paulino, for Mount St. Vincent, who fouls the first pitch straight back for strike 1. Paulino made a couple of nice plays in the field during the previous half inning. Fielded a couple of tough hops over at shortstop. As Santos checks on the runner at first. It's off the glove of Kalika. Perhaps that throw even hit the runner. It rolls all the way into the bullpen out in right field. Backing up was Miola. 3 Dolphins giving chase, including Navertny and Kalika, along with Miola. And fortunately for CSI, the runner will hold at second base. Four runs already home here in the Mount St. Vincent half of the 3rd inning. Still only 1 out. Standing in scoring position over at second base is Matt Albert. He drove in a pair with a single, and that spelled the end of the line for Daniel Garcia. I'll have the full line on Garcia once Matt Albert is either eliminated off of the base paths or comes home, as that's hit slowly through the right side, and Albert may be coming home right here. Throw from Miola out in right field is cut off by Kalika. And the 7th Mount St. Vincent run is home, the 5th of this 3rd inning. They now lead the College of Staten Island 7-0. That will indeed close the book on Daniel Garcia. And it is not a good-looking story for him in this game. The final line for Garcia: 2 1/3 innings pitched, 6 runs allowed in the game, all of them earned on 5 base hits and 5 walks. He struck out a single batter. He faced 17 batters, only recorded 7 outs. As it looked like the man at the plate, Jake Blinstrub, thought he may have been hit by that pitch. Took a couple of strides over toward first base, but he'll step back into the box. Garcia also hit a batter. Allowed only 1 extra base hit. It was a double, but it was a big one as it drove in a pair, and that was really the beginning of the end, as at that point in the inning, no runs had yet come home. But the double by Isidoros Spartsiokis doubled up the lead for Mount St. Vincent from 2-4. Then extended their lead from 2-6 on a Matt Albert single, and from 6-7 on the Tyler Paulino single just moments ago. And that pitch misses downstairs for ball 2. So once again, a Dolphins pitcher working from behind in the count. This time it's Santos. Garcia didn't pitch from ahead in the count very often while he was out there on the mound. And Santos now finding himself behind in the count, 2-0. Paulino with a nice size lead over at first base, extends that lead just a bit. He might be looking to run, and instead, taking ball 4 is Jake Blinstrup. He is on for the 3rd time via the base on balls, and that's exactly what you want your leadoff hitter to do at the top of the order, get on by whatever means necessary. And if they're not throwing you strikes, you certainly have to take those pitches and seize the opportunity to get on. Matt Denorcia gets his 3rd plate appearance in as many innings. Mount St. Vincent now sending their 9th man to bat in the top half of the 3rd. And the first pitch from Santos is on the inside corner for a called strike 1. Denorcia, the only player in the lineup for Mount St. Vincent who has not yet reached base, was thrown out at first on a fielder's choice back in the 1st inning and flew out to right in his 2nd plate appearance, as that one is down in the dirt and will allow both base runners to move up one, as going from 2nd to 3rd is Tyler Paulino, and from 1st to 2nd, Jake Blinstrup. Infield in all around for CSI. And another pitch down in the dirt runs the count to 2 balls and 1 strike. CSI turning to the bullpen for answers, but Alexis Santos hasn't had him so far. Struggling with his control as well. Has missed with a couple down in the dirt. And the 2-1 is hit just foul down the first base line. If that ball stays fair, we have ourselves a 9-0 ball game. Two balls and 2 strikes the count, 1 away in the top half of the 3rd. Mount St. Vincent leading Staten Island 7-0. That's fouled back. Anthony Massero in the on-deck circle. He awaits his chance, perhaps with as many as 3 men on base. As that's lined into shallow right center for a base hit. Miola scoops it up, and he will throw into 2nd as 2 more runs come home for Mount St. Vincent. They are piling it on the College of Staten Island here in this 3rd inning. A 7 spot for Mount St. Vincent has extended their lead to 9-0. And I believe that is pitching coach Patrick Daddio coming out of the Dolphins dugout. Not much has gone right for the Dolphins on the mound in this one so far. And it will be a short word with Santos on the mound as the Dolphins infield continues to converse around the mound. That conference breaks up. So stepping into the box is Anthony Massero. He singled back in the 1st, drove in a run, flew out in his 2nd at bat. That at bat came in this inning to lead things off. Daniel Garcia got the 1st out, retiring Massero, then got ahead of Michael Grisanti 0-2 before hitting him with a pitch, and that opened the door for Mount St. Vincent in this 3rd inning. The hit by pitch was followed by another walk. That was Garcia's 5th. He then surrendered a base hit, a single. That loaded things up, and Isidoro Sparciakas got things going for Mount St. Vincent, driving in the first 2 with a double, Right behind him, Matt Albert drove in a pair with a double. Tyler Paulino drove in another run with a single. A walk to Jake Blinstra put him on for the third time via the base on balls. And previous batter, Matt Denorcia, who stands over at first, drove in a pair with a single of his own. As Denorcia takes off for second base, that ball was down in the dirt, and he just beats the tag of Jet Navertney over at second base. So Denorcia swipes second, moves himself into scoring position. And ahead in the count, 2-0, Anthony Massero has an opportunity to extend the Mount St. Vincent lead to double digits. Once again, a 3-0 count. I don't have a tally of how many 3-0 counts we've had in this game, but it's been quite a few. And the 3-0 pitches in for a called strike one.
Denorcia is taking a sizable lead off second, and his previous stolen base was enabled by another large lead.
You have to wonder if the leads that these Mount St. Vincent base runners have been getting have thrown off these Dolphins pitchers in any way, because we've seen control issues on the mound for both Dolphins pitchers in this game, Garcia and Santos. And they have paid attention to those runners. It's not as if they haven't given them a look. They've certainly been focused on whoever it is on the base paths for Mount St. Vincent, but that hasn't been enough to stop the stolen bases. As an ugly-looking swing will run the count full to 3-2, and that's chopped on the ground. This could be trouble, and that ball just dies on the infield grass. No play for Santos. Not sure what he's doing throwing that ball. Only bad things can happen throwing that one over to first, but fortunately nothing comes of it. And that's an infield single for Anthony Massero, his second base hit.
And now for Mount St. Vincent, every player has reached base this inning.
And that is remarkable. It really is. The first batter of the inning was retired on an F9. Since then, 9 consecutive batters have reached base. Massero bringing that full circle, reaching on that infield single. I'm not sure I've ever seen an inning like this in any game I've covered from the CSI baseball complex. We've seen some lopsided scores over at softball over the years, but not much like this at baseball, with 9 straight men reaching base. No end in sight. As Michael Grisanti is the batter. He was hit by a pitch. That got things started with 1 out in this inning for Mount St. Vincent. And they've kept the line moving from there as that's hit well out to center field, and that one is caught out there in center. Nice play by Nick Falcone, ranging back and scrambling for first base, and just getting in there safely is Massero. The ball rolls toward the Mount St. Vincent dugout. Massero barely got back to first. He was certain that was over the head of Falcone. I thought so, too. I was ready to call that an extra base hit, but a nice play there by Falcone, ranging back and making the over-the-shoulder grab.
Massero lucky to get back there. He was much closer to third base than he was at second base when he got a retreat, and if not for the little bobble, I think they might have had him.
A perfect throw would have gotten him over at first base. It was a good throw, but it took a short hop and nearly found its way into the dugout. I'm not sure there's a path in. No, I don't see one down at that end of the dugout, so thankfully, if you're a fan of CSI, the barrier stopped that one from resulting in an extra base, but the run did come home from third, lost in all of that, as the Mets scrambled to get back to first base by Massero. Took our attention away from that 10th run coming home. The lead for Mount St. Vincent now double digits in the third inning, 10-0. Only 8 base hits in the game for Mount St. Vincent. That shows you how big of an issue walks have been thus far. That's hit well out to left field. It will fall in front of Miglino out there in left, and the line just keeps moving for Mount St. Vincent with 2 away, runners on first and second. And that will bring up Zachary Saunders.
Now batting the designated hitter number 14, Zachary Saunders.
Saunders has a pair of base hits already in this game. Will look to make it 3. His third hit would likely extend this lead to 11 runs as that ball travels over his head. Long look in from Santos. The 1-0 pitch upcoming. That's down low for ball 2. No action in the Dolphins bullpen until the moment I speak, as it looks like we have 3 bodies coming out of the Dolphins dugout at the moment. That, of course, the College of Staten Island. And there actually is some tossing going on in the Mount St. Vincent bullpen as well.
That's Tommy Sheriff's, I believe, getting ready down there.
That is indeed number 99, Sharfet's out in the bullpen for Mount St. Vincent, a left-hander. So Peter Sanderson has gotten off to a good start. He's had a long layoff. Maybe that would affect him negatively. Can't imagine there's any other way of justifying taking him out of the game right now.
I did notice earlier in this inning that he was out there getting loose as well. So maybe the plan was just to have him pitch the first two innings.
That absolutely could be the case. As I mentioned, the Dolphins have employed a pitcher by committee through many of their games this year. And that might indeed be the approach for Mount St. Vincent as well. That's not something we saw too often last year. If I remember correctly, I called quite a few games last year, and in most cases, CSI anyway had a defined starting pitcher. But this year it's been pieced together through a lot of their games. Curious to see what the longest outing was. I at least have the stats from the games played on Staten Island here. We'll take a look at that a bit later as that's skied foul and into the seats. On the game against St. Joe's Brooklyn that I attended at Staten Island Tech, the Dolphins used 4 pitchers. Christian Capion didn't get out of the third inning. John Esposito, Alexis Santos, who's on the mound right now, and Kevin Ryan each pitched 2 innings in that game. Against Maritime, 5 pitchers were used in that game. The Game 2 loss. Here comes the 3-2. Hit sharply on the ground, down the line, and that is a base hit. 1 run will come home. Making a break for second base is Saunders. I'm not sure the Dolphins had any idea he was taking off for 2. He slides in safely, and Mount St. Vincent has extended their lead to 11 runs in the third inning. It's a 9 spot in the top of the third. CSI now trailing 11-0.
And the extra pitch is really coming into play there because it was a 3-2 count, which allowed Mount St. Vincent to get a running head start. On that play like that, where the third baseman knocks it down, you don't typically see the runner from second base score.
And that's a big problem with pitching from behind in the count. One of many that we could highlight, and there have been several so far in this game. But when you fall behind with men on base and you have to give the batter something in the zone, they can lock in, and makes it much easier to drive the ball. But in that situation, as you mentioned, a full count allowed the runners to get a head start, and in most cases, the run wouldn't score from second base on I shouldn't say a softly hit, but a ball that was knocked down by the glove of the third baseman, Dimarco. It got away toward the Dolphins' dugout, but he got enough of it that it didn't travel all the way down the line. As the 1-0 pitch is in for a called strike. Isidoro Spartsiokis, the batter, drove in a pair with a double earlier in this inning. I'll have a hit tally for Mount St. Vincent in just a moment as that misses for ball 2. Eight base hits in the inning thus far. And it's not over yet. 2 more stand in scoring position. Over at third, it's Zimmerman. And at second is Saunders. Comes the 2-1, and That misses outside for ball 3. Matt Albert, who's already driven in a pair, stands on deck waiting for his second turn at bat of the inning. We'll see if he's given that opportunity. That's down in the dirt for ball 4. Yet another walk. So I have to be honest, I'm trying to mask the frustration in my voice. Dolphins simply can't find the strike zone out there on the mound, as Mount St. Vincent has loaded the bases once again. And if you're a fan of Mount St. Vincent, you have to love what you've seen from your team at the plate. Great approach. The Dolphins haven't helped themselves out on the mound, but Mount St. Vincent certainly has had a good eye collectively up there, and it's paid off to the tune of 11 runs. They've driven the ball well with 10 base hits to go along with those 11 runs.
6 walks, and also a hit by pitch, so the command of the strike zone has not been there for the Dolphins of CSI today.
I'm not sure I've ever seen an effort like this from the Dolphins on the mound in a game. I'm not sure I've ever seen the Dolphins trailing in a game by 11 runs. And that might not be saying much. You don't often see 11-run deficits, at least not on the baseball diamond. Down the hill every once in a while, we'll see a lopsided score like that. As rolling over that one, foul was Albert. He's behind in the count, no balls and 2 strikes. But if you're a fan of CSI, it has to be very frustrating, especially coming off of an 11-0 defeat yesterday against Kane. Kane does have some very solid victories so far this year, a pair of wins against teams that at the time were nationally ranked. They entered yesterday's matchup with CSI red hot. I'm not sure I mentioned that matchup in the pregame when I was running through the Dolphins' schedule. So that was the last of their games played. I actually did say the Dolphins hadn't played since the 16th. I was completely wrong about that. They played yesterday, and I knew that. It just slipped my mind at the moment. So CSI actually coming off of an 11-0 defeat yesterday against Kane. I actually fell asleep in front of my laptop screen watching that game at home to get a look at this CSI Dolphins ball club. As that's popped up in the air, foul. Stayed in play, but no chance for Trancucci on that one.
And CSI is having a lot of issues putting away the batters today. Lots of counts getting to 2 strikes, and they just foul them off, and it either leads to a walk or an unfortunate hit.
Well, I mentioned the pitcher by committee approach, and I mistakenly said the Dolphins had some time off between their last 2 games, as hung out to dry between first and second is Bartziokis, the runner coming home, and CSI simply can't catch a break in this inning. Haven't done much right on the mound, and we saw some good defensive plays in the field in the second. That's certainly not one of them here in the third, as the Dolphins had the runner hung up between first and second. The runner over at second base wasn't moving, so I'm not sure if he was going to take off at some point. He would have to if the runner between first and second was going to move towards second base and ultimately take second base, but CSI losing track of the runner over at third. That was Zimmerman who came in to score. The 12th Mount St. Vincent run. Advancing to second was Bartziokis, and now standing over at third is Saunders. The count 2-2 on the batter, Matt Albert, and he lofts one out to right field. Miola is underneath it. And finally, what was a nightmare of a third inning for the College of Staten Island comes to a close. CSI allows 10 runs in the top half of the third. We counted the base hits out before. At that point, it was 8. Mount St. Vincent finishes the frame with 9 base hits. They strand a pair. Our score heading into the bottom half of the third, Mount St. Vincent over Staten Island, 12-0. We'll be right back.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
And we are back from the College of Staten Island. And that score on your screen is correct. Mount St. Vincent leading Staten Island 12-0. If you're a fan of Mount St. Vincent, you have to be thrilled with the way this game has gone so far. If you're a fan of Staten Island, not so much. Nothing has gone right for CSI on the mound in this one. Starting pitcher Daniel Garcia couldn't find the strike zone. Alexis Santos didn't have any more luck out there on the mound. He also got hit pretty hard. Garcia got hit hard to open up the inning. Santos came in relief and didn't fare much better, but I mistakenly said before the Dolphins had 3 days between this game and their last. That was not correct. CSI played yesterday, and in that game, they used 5 pitchers. So CSI may be a bit short on pitching in this game, and down 12-0. I'll be very curious to see what their approach is moving forward in this game, whether or not they'll look to concede this one, trailing by 12 runs. They're back in action on Saturday, so CSI with a doubleheader coming up on Saturday may look to use fewer pitchers in this game and keep some arms fresh for that matchup against SUNY Poly. But we'll see what CSI looks to do moving forward in this game, trailing big. And Mount St. Vincent making a pitching change to open up the third inning, a long layoff for Peter Sanderson. We're not sure if that's why he's out of the game or if it was a plan from the start to throw him only 2 innings, but it is indeed Tommy Sharfetz coming out of the bullpen for Mount St. Vincent in the third, and first pitch swinging there. And picking up the base hit and taking the turn for second is Nick Falcone, aggressive base running, and you simply can't afford that if you're the Dolphins, as Falcone is thrown out at second base for the first out. Dolphins got exactly what they were looking for in this third inning, a leadoff base hit, but Falcone boldly taking the turn for second. He did not hesitate, and ultimately it will cost the Dolphins a base runner and the first out of the inning. Back to the top of the order, this is Robert Miglino, and he takes a called strike one. Miglino struck out looking back in the first. Dolphins went down 1-2-3 in that first inning, and Peter Sanderson struck out the side in the top half of the opening frame. I do have the final line on Sanderson. I'll have that up on my screen in just a moment as Miglino swings through that pitch for strike 2. Count now 1 ball and 2 strikes, but Sanderson threw 2 innings, allowed a pair of base hits. He struck out 3, all of those coming in the first inning. He faced 8 batters as Miglino goes down on strikes for the second time, this time on the swinging variety, and there are quickly 2 Dolphins away in the bottom half of the third. Anthony Demarco is the batter, and he takes a called strike 1. That's perhaps off the foot of Demarco, who chopped that straight down. And he's quickly behind in the count 0-2. At the very least, the Dolphins would like to see somebody like Anthony Demarco, who struggled at the plate so far this year, get something going in a game that seems to have gotten away from them, down 12 runs so early. But you'd like to see some hitters that haven't fared well at the plate turn things around, and perhaps they can carry that into the weekend games. As I'm not sure if that's coming over the microphones, but that is indeed John Cena's theme playing down the hall. A lot of laughs down there, not many so far, I would presume, in the Dolphins dugout, as things have not gone well. But
Out St. Vincent warming up another pitcher now, Sean McHugh, getting loose down there.
as the 1-2 pitch misses up and away, but I've been told that Dave is no fan of wrestling talk on the broadcast in the past, so I may get a text message if I go any further. And was Demarco called out on strikes? Did he check his swing as he has a word with the home plate umpire? Either way, that's the third out of the inning. CSI trailing Mount St. Vincent 12-0 as we head to the top of the fourth. We'll be right back with more non-conference NCAA Division III baseball on CSI Sportsnet.
They'll test you. Try to break your will. But however loud the loudness gets, however many cheese puffs may fly, you're the driver, the one in control. Stand firm. Just wait. And move only when you hear the click that says they're buckled in for the drive. Never give up till they buckle up.
This is why you took a second job. While you taught yourself how to fix the plumbing. While you'll do whatever it takes to keep your home. And that is why we want to help. We are making home affordable, a free government resource that can make paying the mortgage easier. Call 888-995-HOPE today.
Well, I went down the hall in between.
This is
things.
why
I
you
have
took
indeed
the
been
second
informed that
job.
If we do talk more wrestling, I will be fired. I'm tempted to talk more
While you
wrestling
taught
right now.
yourself how to fix the plumbing.
CSI Baseball Complex. College of Staten Island trailing Mount St. Vincent in this one as we head to the top half of the fourth inning. It will be Alexis Santos back on the mound for the College of Staten Island, looking to eat some innings here as there is some action in the Dolphins bullpen. We'll see if CSI looks to make a pitching change at some point in this inning, and they'll hope to have that decision made easy by Santos out on the mound, as it has been a nightmare so far for the College of Staten Island in this game.
That's last inning. CSI definitely got the smackdown laid on them. Hopefully they can improve this inning, and as the pitching needs to really work on the control.
That's one wrestling reference. I did not make it. As the first pitch of the fourth inning is fouled right back at us. Thankfully, there's a screen there. But we have taken a foul ball off the glass here in the booth before, and the window was able to withstand that. So, fortunately for us, we have some sturdy glass in front of our faces, and all of the equipment here on the table is that's hit softly on the ground to short, and Ciancio handles it cleanly, and Kalika can't reel in that throw. That throw led the glove of Kalika in toward the runner. We'll see who the error is charged to. I would assume Ciancio on the throw, but we actually won't get an official scoring up on the board. Only hit or error. It is indeed an error, of course. Dolphins got a couple of good defensive plays in the field in the second, but there have been some miscues since. The rundown that ultimately did not yield an out and allowed a run to come home. Miscue number one, and right there, that throw into the runner, a second miscue in the field for the Dolphins. As this is the leadoff man, Jake Blindstrup, stepping into the box. He's reached 3 times, all on walks, and Blindstrup stepped out of the box, had not received time, and takes a called strike. Don't see that too often. We also don't see 12-run leads too often, especially this early in games, as that misses up and away for a ball. If you're a fan of either team watching and would like to make things a bit more interesting, I didn't do this often last year, but I want to make a point of doing it this year. We do have a live chat option online on YouTube if you're following us on YouTube, so we can see that, and if you have anything to say, we're open to hear it. Just keep it PG so we can read it. Not sure we have to worry about that too much, but you never know. College students can get a little excited watching their teams, and if you've been in the stands for any of our games here at the College of Staten Island, you can certainly attest to that. As the 1-1 pitch is fouled away. Count now 1 ball and 2 strikes. And that's lined into straightaway center, and another funky hop that ball took on the grass. We saw the ball completely die on the infield grass right there. It looked like it hit a ridge out there in center field and completely changed directions on Nick Falcone. That's a base hit for Jake Blindstrub, the 4th time he's been on. His first base hit of the game. And that will bring up Matt DeNorcia. DeNorcia had a base hit in the previous inning, drove in a run, and I'm not sure what's going on here, but the Dolphins just can't do anything right now. There's no other way to put it, as Santos trying to pick off the runner on second through to an unoccupied base. Yesterday's 11-0 defeat at the hands of Kane could be chalked up to a very tough matchup against a team that was red hot coming in, playing on their home field where Kane has had tremendous success so far this year. CSI came in and got shut out in that one. Kane putting up 11 on CSI in that game, but there's simply no reason why the Dolphins, CSI that is, on their home field today should be struggling so mightily against a team that they've played very well against in the past.
CSI leads the all-time series 16-5.
Took the words right out of my mouth, Nick, as CSI has played Mount St. Vincent very well in the past. Last year, these two teams played a pair at Staten Island Tech. I believe that doubleheader was split between the two teams. And then 2 years ago, I think CSI did win both games here. I believe I covered those games, as that's pulled through the hole on the left side, a base hit, and Mount St. Vincent continues to add to their lead. They're now up 13 runs on the College of Staten Island in the 4th inning. With a pitching change upcoming, we will step aside and take a break. When we come back, it will be 13-0 Mount St. Vincent over the College of Staten Island. More exclusive NCAA Division III men's baseball coverage when we return on CSI Sportsnet.
Na 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 na, I love you so. I love you, I love you. La 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 la, la 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 la.
We're here.
Yay!
It's a short drive from your neighborhood to your naturehood. To find a neighborhood park or green space near you, visit discovertheforest.org.
You make me wear my bike helmet. Taught me never to run with scissors.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
And to follow the swimming rules.
You're always looking out for me and trying to keep me safe.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
Here in the garage.
Closet. Shoe box under the bed. Where anyone can get to it. How safe is that?
How safe is that?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. If you own a firearm and are not using it, please be responsible and be sure that it's stored in a safe place. Remember, always lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org.
And we're back from the College of Staten Island and imploring our viewers to join us in the live chat. We do have our first comment from Anthony Faldetta of Mount St. Vincent, and Mount St. Vincent certainly getting it done out there on the diamond today as Anthony cheering on his team. Staten Island struggling in this one. We'd like to hear from some of our Dolphins fans, and I think that we do have some friends down the hall who might get in on the live chat, as well as some friends watching back at home. And we do have a pitching change for the College of Staten Island. I believe it's Joseph DeCelie on the mound for CSI. First pitch from DeCelie misses for ball 1. Anthony Massero is the batter. fourth turn through the batting order for Mount St. Vincent in the fourth inning. Here comes the 1-0. That's down and away in the dirt for ball 2. The issue in this one has been pretty simple. CSI can't find the strike zone from out on the mound. They've fallen behind in the count as that's hit back toward the middle, and failing to make the backhanded scoop was Jet Navertney. That will cost the Dolphins at least a run, but they do get the runner trying to go first to third. As that's a sarcastic cheer from down the hall you hear over your microphones as we have the first out of the inning, but not before Mount St. Vincent extends their lead to 14 runs. Michael Grisanti is the batter. Grisanti without a hit in this game, though he has reached on a hit by pitch. That came back in the third. I said it earlier in this game, you can never count the College of Staten Island out. I've never seen them trailing by 14 runs, and they're certainly testing my confidence in them in this game right now, as this is for sure the largest deficit I've ever seen Staten Island face. This, of course, our first CSI Sportsnet baseball broadcast of 2019. We're expected to be back on the air this weekend as a pickoff attempt comes up empty. Runner back in with plenty of time over at second. That's Anthony Massero standing over at second base.
I believe Grisanti is the only player of Mount St. Vincent's not a hit in this game.
You are correct, and that's remarkable in the fourth inning, but you look at the scoreboard, and it's not so surprising when you see the 14-run lead. Here comes the 2-0 pitch to Grisanti. And that finds the outside corner for a strike. And if you're the Dolphins coaching staff right now, all you want from your pitchers is to throw strikes. Get the team through this game without going through any more arms unnecessarily, and go into the weekend, in all likelihood, off of a defeat, but with some fresh arms to turn to. A couple of off days will certainly help, as the count is 3 balls and 2 strikes. And that's swung on and missed for strike 3. So a big strikeout picked up by DeCelie to finally stop the bleeding, as Dolphins were struggling to record the first out of this inning, I should say. Runner was cut out. There should be 2 outs up on the scoreboard, correct? Runner was cut down over at third base, so
yes,
there should be 2 outs.
Throw from center field, so there is 2 outs.
I'll have to go down the hall and correct that. I thought there was an out.
Demarco is guns out at third. Fouled away.
And I'm back from my trip down the hall. I can't say I didn't milk that one for a little bit more than it was worth. Once again, stepping off is DeCelie, taking a look towards second. Dolphins have paid close attention to just about anyone who's reached base for Mount St. Vincent. Deficit really hasn't impacted that much. But 5 Dolphins errors certainly have impacted the score As it stands right now, though, without those errors, they'd still be trailing by at least 8 or 9 runs. The rest of our schedule for the week is as follows. Softball against Mount St. Vincent tomorrow for a doubleheader scheduled for 4:30, but doesn't look like that doubleheader will take place. We'll see, but if it does, I highly doubt that we will jeopardize the equipment out in the rain, so in all likelihood it will be live stats only, perhaps a single camera feed, but I doubt it. You can follow the live stats for that game if it is indeed played at csidolphins.com.
The weather is certainly not looking good for tomorrow during whether it be first pitch. We have a 100% chance of rain and a high of 46 degrees.
I think it's a safe bet that there will not be softball played tomorrow, but if anything changes in regards to the weather, we of course are on call. We'll see if a decision is made on that game tonight rather than tomorrow, but I'm not sure that's a call that will be made tonight. I think by about noon tomorrow, we'll know whether or not that game is being played. As the 1-2 pitch misses up and away. And in the next half inning, I'll talk a bit about the softball trip down to Florida. CSI women's softball got their season underway with 8 games at various sites throughout Florida. They participated in the spring games, an organized meeting of many teams. A loose tournament format down there as Dolphins record the third out on a pop-up. And finally, CSI able to get out of this inning. This inning only saw 2 runs put up on the scoreboard by Mount St. Vincent, but it could have been far worse. Runner cut down trying to take third base, but Joseph DeCelie came in and stopped the bleeding for CSI, recorded some much-needed outs. We'll see how far he can go for CSI in this one. Staten Island trails Mount St. Vincent 14-0 heading into the bottom half of the 4th inning. We'll be right back on CSI Sportsnet.
You make me wear my bike helmet.
Taught me never to run with scissors. You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
And to follow the swimming rules.
You're always looking out for me and trying to keep me safe.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
Here in the garage.
Closet.
Shoebox under the bed. Where anyone can get to it. How safe is that?
How safe is that?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. If you own a firearm and are not using it, please be responsible and be sure that it's stored in a safe place. Remember, always lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org.
And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex. Staten Island trails Mount St. Vincent 14-0 heading into the bottom half of the 4th inning. And before we went to break, I did promise to provide some information from our softball trip. I was lucky enough to go on that trip with the CSI women's softball team. I had a great time down in Florida. CSI women's softball played 8 games on the trip and were without some of their key players, including Allison Marsh, starting pitcher, and Juliana Cretella out in right field. Kristen Marr was also hurt on the trip and did not play. So the Dolphins had several players not available on the trip. I believe they went down there with 11 healthy bodies. That certainly impacted the results of some of those games. Another starting pitcher could have gone a long way, as it was freshman Jackie Cateridge and Vanessa Porto shouldering the load for CSI down in Florida. And CSI dropped all 8 games they played. 4 of those 8 games were very close, and I'll talk a bit more about them as we have some breaks in the action. This is Jet Navertney at the plate, the Dolphins' number 3 hitter, who hits one on the ground over to short, and he's thrown out for the first out in the bottom half of inning number 4. But on day 1 down in Florida, game 1, not very close. I believe that was a final of 6-0. Women's softball falling in their opening game down there in Florida. But in game number 2, they had a 4-3 lead in that one, and Kate Ridge, the starting pitcher that I mentioned before, was removed from the game in favor of Vanessa Porto. Porto, I believe, got out of the first inning that she threw, but couldn't hold on to the lead for the Dolphins, and they ultimately fell in that game 6-4 on day 1, closing out day 1 with a pair of defeats. As that's hit sharply foul down the left field line. This is Dolphins designated hitter Andrew Nathan batting in the cleanup spot. So women's softball came back 0-8. I'll go through some more of those games in just a few minutes. I'll pull up the schedule on my iPad and try and recall some of the details. I was fortunate enough to do stats for those games, some of them from the dugout, so that was a good experience to get to hang around the women's softball team and get an up-close look at how things run down there from the dugout and watch a game from the dugout. You don't get to do that very often, not a common occurrence that we work from the dugout here at the College of Staten Island down at softball. Weather permitting, we're always behind home plate. So it was nice to do some games from the dugout and get to know the team a little bit as that's chopped on the ground and through the hole on the left side for a base hit. So Andrew Nathan is on with one out for CSI, and Dolphins finally have a man on base, I believe, for the first time since the first inning. Erased was Nick Falcone trying to extend a single into a double.
Something I've noticed today, Joe, is the ground seems pretty hard. We've seen a lot of crazy bounces, and that might have to do with the fact that it's still very cold here in Staten Island.
I've noticed the same thing as taking a look at my line, or I should say my scorecard. That base runner for the Dolphins, the first since the second inning. Dolphins had a pair of base hits in that second inning, had runners on the corners, as that's grounded foul down the left field line. Well, we still encourage some of our 22 active viewers right now to get into the live chat if that's something that you feel like doing. Certainly makes our job a little bit easier in a 14-run game, as that's flat out to center field for out number 2. Two away, it will be Stephen Kalika, the batter. I'm going to pull up that women's softball schedule in just a moment. There were some very entertaining games down there. I already mentioned one of them on day one. I'll have the full schedule with team names in just a moment, but women's softball does return home 0-8, and if they do face Mount St. Vincent tomorrow, they'll be looking for their first victory of the season in that case. Day one saw women's softball fall to Nebraska Wesleyan 6-0 and Bowdoin College 6-4. Those two games I referenced just a couple of minutes ago as Stephen Kalika rips one foul down the right field line. Andrew Nathan, the runner on first, singled with one away. CSI still looking to get on the scoreboard for the first time. And Kalika takes a breaking ball for a called strike 3. So the Dolphins strand Andrew Nathan over at first base. Still not on the scoreboard in this one. Our score heading into the top half of the 5th. Mount St. Vincent 14, Staten Island nothing. More NCAA Division III baseball when we come back.
Oh, listen now, can you hear the bluebirds? Oh, look up now, can you feel the sun? Whoa, 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 whoa. Can you feel the sun?
And we're back. Dolphins of the College of Staten Island trailing the Dolphins of Mount St. Vincent 14-0 as we enter the 5th inning. And before we went to break, I was talking about some softball. CSI women's softball is scheduled to return to action tomorrow against Mount St. Vincent for a doubleheader. Weather doesn't look like it's going to cooperate right now, so it's unlikely that doubleheader is played, but CSI women's softball did get their season underway down in Florida. I already referenced a couple of those games against Nebraska Wesleyan, a 6-0 defeat, and against Bowdoin College, a 6-4 defeat. Those two games played on day one in Florida. On day two, the Dolphins took on Susquehanna, fell in that game 10-3, one of a few games that really weren't close. Half of the games were decided by, I believe, 2 runs or less, if I take a quick look down the line. Half of the games decided by 2 runs or less. The other half decided by several runs more. And this first game of day 2 decided by 7 runs against Susquehanna. Game number 2 on day 2 against UMass Dartmouth was decided by a single run, 1-0. And errors really plagued the Dolphins softball team on that trip. I don't have a full tally of the errors. I believe it was somewhere between 17 and 20 after the final day. Certainly miscues in the field looming large in many of those outcomes from the games down in Florida. But day 2 saw the Dolphins drop a pair of games as well and drop to 0-4 overall in the season. I'll get to days 4 and 5 in just a few moments as that's fouled away. So I turn my scorecard over, leading things off for Mount St. Vincent in the top half of the 5th is Zachary Saunders.
Saunders has already been on base 3 times today. He has 2 singles and a double. So pretty nice day when you're in the 5th inning and you already have 3 hits.
Only one player on this Mount St. Vincent team without a hit in this game. It's Michael Grisanti, the cleanup hitter of all batters in this order. That's fouled away.
That one looked like it bounced right off a car. One hopper into the parking lot.
Hopefully not anyone's car that we know. Otherwise, cleanup may be a bit slower, as we'll likely be down a body in that case. I'm not sure that they wouldn't be tending to their car, as that's down and away for ball 3. But on day 3 in Florida, women's softball did have a day off. They took on Concordia, Wisconsin, and Western New England on day 4 in the game against Western New England. Dolphins fell 2-0 as another one's fouled off. But in that game, I believe both runs scored as the result of errors. I'll double check that line. Yeah, both runs scored in that game were unearned. Errors just killed the Dolphins on that trip. I know you didn't see those games, Nick, but I'm sure you're familiar with how errors can loom large and really derail a team's attempts to win games. And that was certainly the case for women's softball down in Florida. The errors were such a big problem. Routine plays in the outfield, bobbled ground balls on the infield, and throwaways that just derailed opportunities to win games decided by 2 runs or fewer.
Yes, dude. You can't make the fundamental plays as we've seen today. 5 errors. If I'm not mistaken, we just had wild pitch there, and the runner could have taken off for second, but he did not. I'm not sure if he walked or if that was a missed catch on the 3rd strike.
I believe that was indeed ball 4, which continues to add to the Dolphins' walk total in this game. My scorecard is such a mess at this point. I'm not even sure I could count them if I wanted to, but thankfully we have live stats for that, so I'll check over there and see where we're at in terms of walks in this game. And with that latest walk, Dolphins have now issued 8 free passes via the base on balls and hit a batter as well, so certainly not helping themselves. It's 12 hits in the game to go along with the 8 walks and the hit batter. Isidoro Spartsiokis, the batter for Mount St. Vincent, behind in the count 0-1. I mentioned the day 3 loss against Western New England for women's softball. That dropped softball's record to 0-5. The second game on that particular day, a big loss against Concordia, Wisconsin. CSI fell in that game 12-2. That dropped them to 0-6. That game was decided early. CSI never really got going in that one. Easily the most exciting game of our time down in Florida was played on the final day, day 5, against Albright College. CSI fell behind 2-0 in that one, but responded with a 5 spot in the bottom half of the first inning. As that skied foul down the left field line, out of play. But that game, easily the most exciting game played down there in Florida. CSI responded to a 2-spot from Albright in the top half of the first with 5 of their own in the bottom half. Albright clawed their way back into the game, knotting things up at 5 before CSI took a 6-5 lead in the fourth. Leading 6-5 entering the sixth. Dolphins couldn't hold on to that lead, surrendered a pair in the top half of the sixth. And those 2 runs ultimately deciding the result 7-6, but a lot more happened in that game. In the bottom half of the sixth, the Dolphins had a chance to tie the game. Jackie Cateridge was thrown out trying to score on a Patricia Rich's base hit. Tying run cut down at the plate with Cateridge being thrown out. And Sierra Kaplanik led off the 7th with a double, so CSI was actually set up to tie the game once again in the 7th. Kaplanik advanced over to third base on a ground out, but was stranded there. Dolphins couldn't get the run home from third base with only 1 out. They dropped that game 7-6 against Albright. That defeat sent CSI to 0-7 on the year, and then a big defeat against Plattsburgh State in their final game played down in Florida. CSI fell 14-2 against the Cardinals in that one. And there's another hit batter, payoff pitch. DeCelia looking to come inside and comes in a bit too far as Bartziokis is on for the 4th time. He's walked twice, doubled, and been hit by a pitch. And this is such a crooked scorecard. You don't see this very often, but
it's not often you're down by 2 touchdowns.
That's a good point. A 2-touchdown lead for Mount St. Vincent. Football season came to an end about a month and a half ago. You wouldn't know it by looking at the scoreboard here at the CSI Baseball Complex.
You have the AAF going on nowadays, but NFL wrapped up last month.
Didn't know the AAF was associated with the NFL. NFL Network broadcast those games, which was surprising to me. I thought the AAF was their own organization. As that's hit sharply on the ground to short. Over to second for 1. Relay over to first by Novotny in time for the double play. So CSI with a tailor-made double play right there, turning it nicely, and there are quickly 2 away. Over to third goes Saunders with 2 outs. And that will bring Tyler Paulino to the plate. Paulino with a chance to get my scorecard back on track. I've been an inning ahead because Mount St. Vincent continues to bat around. Haven't had much room to make notes here, but that could change if DeCelia can get the Dolphins out of this one without allowing any further damage. Well, I mentioned softball scheduled to be in action here at the CSI Softball Complex tomorrow. Unlikely that doubleheader is played. So taking a look, softball's next scheduled home doubleheader is on Saturday, April 6th against Hunter College, and then they'll take on Brooklyn College in a doubleheader the following day. So that wipes out opening weekend at Citi Field for me as Mets get started on April 4th at home. We don't currently have an event scheduled for that day, so I might get to check out the Mets on opening day, but looks like I'm booked for opening weekend at Citi Field. As the 2-0 from DeCelia is in for a called strike. Not many home games on the schedule for women's softball this year. I only count 5. Of course, all women's softball matchups are double headers, so we have Mount St. Vincent scheduled for tomorrow, Hunter and Brooklyn on the 6th and 7th of April, as I just mentioned. New Rochelle on April 14th, and then St. Joseph's Brooklyn on April 25th. So
only 10 scheduled games.
Not a lot of games here at the CSI Softball Complex.
Another hit by pitch.
And DeCelia comes inside, and this time he plunks Tyler Paulino, his second hit batter of the inning. That will send us back to the top of the Mount St. Vincent batting order. Jake Blinstrub will come to the plate for the 5th time in this game.
He has batted in every inning so far.
That's certainly impressive. You don't see that very often, but you don't see a 14-0 score much as well. And first pitch skied foul by Blindstrup. Here comes the 0-1. Hit on the ground towards Ciancio over at short. Handles the tough hop. Flips it over to Navertny for the third out. So Joseph DeCelie puts up a 0 on the scoreboard. And what wasn't a clean inning, but a 0 up there nonetheless. Our score remains 14-0 in favor of Mount St. Vincent. Heading into the bottom half of the fifth, College of Staten Island looks to get on the scoreboard for the first time when we come back.
You make me wear my bike helmet.
Taught me never to run with scissors.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
And to follow the swimming rules.
You're always looking out for me and trying to keep me safe.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
Here in the garage.
Closet. Shoebox. Under the bed.
Where anyone can get to it. How safe is that?
How safe is that?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. If you own a firearm and are not using it, please be responsible and be sure that it's stored in a safe place. Remember, always lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org.
And we are back from the CSI Baseball Complex. Our score is indeed 14-0 in favor of Mount St. Vincent. Staten Island looking to get on the scoreboard for the first time, and I believe we have another pitching change. We'll see if we can get a number on the new pitcher for Mount St. Vincent. I think that was
Sean
number
McHugh.
21.
Sean McHugh.
Yep, you got it. That is indeed Sean McHugh taking the mound for Mount St. Vincent. I'll get you the numbers on McHugh in just a moment, but really hasn't mattered who's been out there on the mound for Mount St. Vincent. This Dolphins offense has been quiet so far in this game, that, of course, being the offense for the College of Staten Island. Both teams have the Dolphin as their mascot, and it's been all Mount St. Vincent in this game. They jumped out in front 2-0 after the first inning, put up a 10 spot in the third, added 2 more in the fourth, finally kept off the scoreboard in the fifth, but they may have all the runs they need in this one, as for CSI, it will be Michael Ciancio leading things off in the bottom half of the fifth. First pitch misses for ball 1.
And I wonder if Mount St. Vincent has some sort of bullpen day planned here. Everybody gets 2 innings because we see Tyler Rice warming up in the bullpen already.
Well, the Dolphins have a leadoff base hit. That is their 5th. And with that base hit, CSI matches their error total in the hit column, and that's not something you like to hear if you're a fan of the College of Staten Island, but that is indeed the case right now, as Salvatore Trancucci will be the batter. Sun just beginning to set here at the College of Staten Island, and that, of course, coincides with a major drop in temperature. It gets cold up here in the press box. Definitely don't envy those players out there on the field, especially with the wind. Fans in the stands with heavy winter jackets and blankets as Ciancio just gets back in under that tag over at first base.
It's very windy here on this complex because it's all open air. I myself have played some men's league softball over on the recreational fields, and I can tell you, it gets cold when that wind is blowing.
And you will only become more familiar with the effect of wind once you start working some softball games. That bleacher setup forms a wind tunnel behind us, seated in front of those bleachers, and it gets frigid out there at softball. When you're out there, you'd give just about anything for a few minutes in this press box, especially for some of those late doubleheaders. And we don't often have many of those, which is fortunate. tomorrow would be one of them if played, but again, that's not looking too good. And taking a quick look through the schedule, the latest start is 1 p.m. the rest of the way. So tomorrow would be our only late afternoon doubleheader. Not sure if it was last year or a couple of years ago, but I believe our former assistant SID, Tom Krichkowski, and I worked a doubleheader on our birthday. He and I share a birthday with John Tardy as well, all three of us the same day. Which is
popular
remarkable.
Birthday here at CSI.
Which is remarkable, but I don't recall if that was a rain out or if that game went on as scheduled. I believe I might have worked it actually on my own, and then the next year we worked one together. Either way, those softball doubleheaders at times were fun. That's hit sharply on the ground to second, and Mount St. Vincent turns the 4-6-3 double play. Dolphins leadoff base runner quickly erased, and there are two away. I think my fondest memory of softball last year was the NFL draft taking place during one of those late afternoon doubleheaders. I was able to put the draft on my iPad and broadcast the picks over the microphone. We actually had a break in the action where it was a pitching change as that's it out to right field. And this one's carrying well, but the wind took care of that one for Mount St. Vincent as Falcone flies out to right field for the third out. So I'll have to share that NFL draft memory when we come back as we head to the bottom half, or I should say the top half of the sixth inning. Our score, Mount St. Vincent 14, Staten Island nothing. More NCAA Division III baseball when we come back.
Don't worry, 74 people were picked before me in the NFL draft.
To fight childhood obesity, United Way and the NFL are helping kids play at least 60 minutes a day.
Okay, time for the team obstacle course. Yay!
What this place needs is more healthy kids. To get involved or donate, go to unitedway.org/play60.
Now I get it.
And we're back from the College of Staten Island. Our score remains 14-0 Mount St. Vincent. And before the break, I was talking about some of my work on public address last year over at softball. One of my fondest memories of public address last year was getting to broadcast the Jets draft pick to the crowd. I had the live video stream on my iPad, put the microphone up to my iPad speaker, and the draft pick of Sam Darnold was announced to the crowd on hand at the CSI softball complex. Seems like that's turned out pretty well so far for the Jets. I like what I saw from Sam Darnold at the end of last year as a season ticket holder. I'm very optimistic. They put in some good work in free agency, capitalized on the Le'Veon Bell situation. I think they got a pretty good deal financially there. So I like what the Jets have done so far. Do you have a vested interest in any NFL team's free agency moves?
I don't know what the New York Giants are doing. That's my team. But hey, if the draft falls during a game this year, come on down to CSI's campus and we'll have a little draft party.
Hopefully that coincides with an event so I can once again sound those picks over the microphone. We'll see how that plays out.
The New York Jets are on the clock.
We're on the clock very early once again this year. See if the Jets look to trade down. Should be an interesting decision for them to make as that's hit straight up in the air on the infield. And Kalika makes the catch for the first out. That was Matt Denorcia retired to open up the top half of the sixth, and Anthony Massero will be the batter. Massero 3 base hits in the game. That's in for a called strike one, but the first day of our trip down to Florida was really highlighted for me by that free agency news. We were in the airport for quite a few hours before we were able to get out of there and on our flight down into Orlando, and we were delayed on the way in, delayed on the way back. Not much of a surprise there, but in the airport I was able to follow the free agency frenzy on NFL Network using my iPad. It's always been reliable, and the Le'Veon Bell situation unfolded that day.
That was a crazy day in New York. You had obviously Odell Beckham Jr. being traded, and then just a little after midnight, Le'Veon Bell signing with the New York Jets.
It was very interesting, too, because I hadn't heard about the Odell Beckham situation until we boarded our JetBlue flight down to Orlando. We were lucky enough to have TV screens with NFL Network as one of the channels in front of us on the plane, so we were following the Odell Beckham situation as we flew down into Orlando, and then by the time we got back to the hotel late that night on March 12th, the news had broken that Le'Veon Bell had signed with the Jets, which was very exciting for me, but it was a very entertaining few hours I spent in the terminal at Newark Airport waiting to depart for Orlando as Massero goes down swinging for the second out, and the Dolphins may have an opportunity here to pick up their first 1-2-3 inning of the game. They faced the minimum back in the second, but that was due to a caught stealing after Jake Blindstrup was thrown out by Salvatore Trancucci. We lauded praise on Trancucci for his throw there, making it from his knees and putting it right on the money to record that putout. And the first pitch to Michael Grisanti's down low for ball one. And if anybody watching has any input on NFL free agency, feel free to share it. You can enter the comments section on YouTube as Grisanti takes a big swing and comes up empty there. The only player on this Mount St. Vincent team without a hit through 4 plate appearances, looking to change that. Here comes the 2-0. Or I should say, I believe that was a 1-1 pitch. He swung and missed at the last pitch. That's a 2-1 count now on Grisanti.
And it's surprising because Grisanti coming in was second on the team with a 4.06 average and led the team in RBIs with 6.
Well, if there was ever a game where Mount St. Vincent could afford to have his bat go cold for a couple of hours, it's this one. And it looks like it's going to be 0 for 4 for Grisanti, who does have an RBI and a sac fly, but he remains hitless as we head to the bottom half of the 6th inning. Mount St. Vincent leads Staten Island big, 14-0. CSI looking to get on the scoreboard for the first time yet again in their half of the 6th.
You make me wear my bike helmet.
Taught me never to run with scissors.
You tell me to stay away from drugs.
To always buckle my seatbelt.
And to follow the swimming rules.
You're always looking out for me and trying to keep me safe.
So why do you keep a loaded gun in your drawer?
Here in the garage.
Closet. Sugar box under the bed. Where anyone can get to it. How safe is that?
How safe is that?
How safe is that?
You asked them to follow some safety rules. Now they're asking you. In fact, they're counting on you. Never let your gun get into the wrong hands. If you own a firearm and are not using it, please be responsible and be sure that it's stored in a safe place. Remember, always lock it up. For more information on firearm storage safety, visit ncpc.org.
Morning, Gary. We are GetSchooled.com. You want a college education, don't you?
You know you do.
That's why we're here. We're free and here to guide you through every step of the way, starting with attendance. Gary, financial aid forms. Picking a college, man. You and us. We go together like tacos and Tuesday.
And I love tacos. Go to GetSchooled.com.
The action resumes from the College of Staten Island. Mount St. Vincent over CSI 14-0. As it looks like taking that ball off of his foot is a Dolphins pinch hitter. That would be Jared Lerner. So Robert Maglino's day is done. I'm listening in next door. There's a plethora of Dolphins substitutions upcoming, so we're going to have to keep our eyes open. On deck, we have Joseph Manzi, so we can fill that in as well.
With such a young team for CSI, it does make sense to get some of the freshmen and get them some experience.
Absolutely it does. And I should mention, too, in that game against St. Joe's Brooklyn played at Staten Island Tech, Mike Morrow was not happy with the effort of his team through the first half of that game, and he made some mass substitutions at that point. He substituted out 7 of his 9 starters and went with some of those young freshman players that we've spoken about throughout the broadcast, and they responded well. They got the Dolphins right back into the game. CSI trailed that game big. I'll have to take a look at the deficit in that one, but it was a large deficit nonetheless, and CSI was able to erase that and get back in the game. And it goes back to my point from earlier. It's difficult to count this Dolphins team out, though. A 14-run deficit entering the final 4 innings is going to be very difficult to overcome. It's just so difficult to say this Dolphins team is finished, and this game against St. Joe's Brooklyn was a testament to that, as the 3-2 pitch is swung on and missed by Lerner, and Dolphins need to get some base runners just to get something going in this game. You'd hate to be shut out for the second consecutive day, and would like to put some runs up on the scoreboard at the very least, but chasing pitches out of the zone certainly won't get it done as Lerner goes down swinging for the first out. But CSI trailed in that game 7-1 against St. Joe's Brooklyn before making the comeback and drawing to within a run. We had a word with Dave checking in from down the hall, making sure we got those lineup
Joe,
changes.
we're gonna have 8 subs. Everyone except Falcone is coming out of the game, and this is not something we haven't seen before with CSI. We've seen in men's basketball when Coach Tibbs was not happy with the way his guys are playing, he's took everybody off the court.
Well, I got to spend a lot of time with Coach Tibbs down in Orlando as my roommate. Learned a lot about the workings behind the scenes and what goes into game day preparation and coaching. He got his first softball coaching experience, which I know he enjoyed. And I was certainly happy to be a part of it. I got to spend some of those games in the dugout, as I mentioned before, and that was a great experience. I really did have a good time, and Coach Tibbs was a big part of that, so I want to give him a shout-out if he's still watching. I know he was watching earlier, but with the Dolphins trailing 14-0, I'm not sure he's still tuned in.
And we mentioned some substitutions. We have Michael Crocco is in the game now.
Yeah, we'll take these substitutions one at a time, and then in between innings, when we have a chance to update our scorecards, we'll do that so that we have the correct defensive alignment. But right now, we'll take it one batter at a time. It's Crocco pinch hitting for Jet Navertney. All of these substitutions will stay in the game, and we'll have them.
So how is Coach Tibbs' softball coaching style? Similar to what we see on the hardwood?
He wasn't as intense with the women's softball team. Very encouraging. A lot less stomping, which is good. A lot more singing, which might surprise you. But
no throwing with the whiteboard.
What happens on the team bus stays on the team bus is what I said. So those are all the details you'll get, though. One of our colleagues, Joe Masha, did circulate a photo of him coaching first base that immediately became a hit. And he was wondering where Joe got that from. And it was from me upon request. Didn't send it on my own. But when we come back, we'll talk a bit more about Coach Tibbs and myself down in Orlando with softball. And maybe the Dolphins can put up another 0 on the scoreboard. They've done a good job over the last 3 innings in keeping Mount St. Vincent out of the run column, but they still trail by 14 runs. Top half of the 7th when we come back.
Listen now, can you hear the bluebirds? Oh, look up now, can you feel the sun?
And we are back from the College of Staten Island. CSI trailing Mount St. Vincent 14-0. And as Nick mentioned, we have 8 defensive changes. So
make that 9. We have a new pitcher as well, I see now.
It will be a left-hander, number 38. That is Michael Lenahan. So I'll go down the line with some of the defensive changes to the Dolphins. In the DH spot, to get things started, is Vincent Brennan, so I'll fill that in now. And, of course, Brennan not in the field. So the defensive changes from here forward, we'll try and take them one at a time as that pitch misses outside for ball one. In right field will be Nicholas Dedato, replacing Nick Miola. Anthony Lozada will take over at first base. John Pomerico takes over at short, taking a look and making sure that all these Dolphins are in the position of the man they replaced in the order. It looks like that's the case since there are no changes on the lineup card. So Pomerico over at short, and behind the plate is Luke Smaya. That's hit sharply, deflected, and thrown away as Dolphins just can't catch a break. That one made contact with Lenahan.
6th error today. Not something you see quite often.
Well, they had the runner over at first, and a poor throw by Pomerico erased any chance the Dolphins had of recording the out.
This might be a injury mound visit here. I think they're checking to see if the ball hit him on the comebacker.
Looks that way. And they're going to have Lenahan throw a couple of pitches to make sure he's okay, but Dolphins just can't catch a break right now. Joseph DeCelie really did a good job of slowing down the bleeding for CSI out of the bullpen, but they didn't want to push him too far. He pitched yesterday, so they turned to Lenahan, and
he did a good job. He reminded me a lot of Darren Oliver with the Mets back in 2006, getting there every day, quality innings, mop-up role, and kept it where we needed it to be.
Very fond memories of that team. I shouldn't say it's been a long time since I had memories like that. 2015 was a great run, but
15 is feeling like 10 years ago now, which is sad.
The way that ended stung about as much as any experience I've had as a sports fan, being there and in the building.
And some of the throws we've seen today, very reminiscent of Lucas Duda.
Oh, that stings. I was in the building for all of those games as that one gets by Smaya into the backstop. So taking second base is, I believe, Matt Albert. If I'm not mistaken. That might be Eric Zimmerman, excuse me. As I'm trying to keep up with an accurate scorecard, it's getting more and more difficult. May have even been a pinch hitter. Where were you on your scorecard? I have to take a look.
I have Zimmerman on second, but I'm not sure if he actually batted.
Well, we have a pinch hitter here as well, so there are some changes coming from Mount St. Vincent as well. This is Thomas Dunleavy. That's hit softly over to second. And throw over to first is just in time for the first out. Moving up to third is Zimmerman. So that was Zimmerman over there on second base, and there's one away.
Very nice pick over there at first base.
Now batting the second baseman, number 24,
Isidoros Bartziokis is the batter. He's been on base 4 times in this game.
And he's been hit by a pitch and has 2 walks.
And we'll see how that one's scored. At the very least, it's an RBI. That makes 3 for Bartziokis. Perhaps 4 RBIs in the game. Double check that. I believe that's 4. That is indeed 4.
Catcher number 5, Matt Albert.
That one goes down as a base hit. I think rightfully so. Definitely not a routine play over there at second for Crocco, but one that could have been made. As a pitcher, that distinction becomes even more important for me. Back when I played, I was always a pitcher, and any ball that touched a fielder's glove, I wanted the play made. Certainly didn't voice my emotions much, but became internally very unhappy when a play wasn't made behind me, and when I'm the official scorer a lot of times.
Johan Santana and Jacob deGrom know all about that.
Yes, they do. Jacob deGrom knows what it's like to pitch extremely well and not win. But hopefully the Mets do right by him and make him a winner with their new contract offer that may or may not happen before opening day. He's someone
lots of money being spent this offseason. We see Trout, Arenado, Harper, Machado, but the Cy Young Award winner, he definitely needs to get an extension done.
Certainly agree with you there. We'll see what gets done and when it gets done, because from what I've heard, opening day is the deadline. Count 2 balls and 1 strike on Matt Albert. He's already driven in a pair in this game. Has only reached in one of his 4 at-bats. That's hit up in the air toward the Mount St. Vincent dugout and might have found its way in there. I believe the count should be 2-2 right now. It is. And that's ripped toward the middle and underneath the glove of Palmerico. That's 2 plays in a row that could have been made that weren't. Palmerico may have benefited from diving there. Again, not a routine play. It's the 14th Mount St. Vincent hit. And then I have runners on first and second with 1 out.
Now batting the shortstop, number 22, Tyler Paulino.
Tyler Paulino is the batter. 1 base hit in 4 chances in the game. At bats in innings 2, 3, 4, and 5. That's hit along the line down the right side, and ranging to his left is Crocco to make the catch for the second out. I think we have another pinch hitter. It is indeed a pinch hitter.
Pinch hitting for Mount St. Vincent, number 6, Christopher Rodriguez.
Christopher Rodriguez will be the batter. Take a look ahead for men's baseball coming up later this week. Mentioned we have doubleheader scheduled for Saturday, a single game scheduled for Sunday. That Saturday doubleheader is against SUNY Poly, scheduled for 1 p.m. Single game on Sunday against NJCU, scheduled for 12 p.m. Depending on how much rain we get, the Saturday doubleheader might be in jeopardy. We look good to go for Sunday, regardless of the weekend weather, as Rodriguez quickly goes down on strikes for the third out, allowing 1 run in the inning with CSI. And Take Me Out to the Ball Game is playing here at the CSI Baseball Complex. We'll get up and stretch when we come back. Bottom half of the 7th from the CSI Baseball Complex.
listen now. Can you hear the bluebirds? Oh, look up now. Can you feel the sun?
When I was 6, my days were spent playing basketball. When I was 6, my dream was to make it to the NBA. When I was 6, my mom had a stroke.
I'm Paul George, and I want you to spot a stroke fast.
F, face drooping. A, arm weakness. S, speech difficulty. T, time to call 911.
Protect the ones you love.
Spot a stroke fast.
We are back from the College of Staten Island. Our score 15-0 in favor of Mount St. Vincent. And I think we have another pitching change for the College of Mount St. Vincent, as it will be Tyler Reyes taking the mound for CMSV. As I took a look behind me quick, thought we had a visitor from down the hall, and it's been a marathon to this point. 2.5 hours, and we enter the bottom half of the 7th inning with the College of Staten Island trailing 15-0. Pinch hitters will continue to come to bat for CSI, or I should say substitutions continuing to come to the plate as Mike Morrow made wholesale changes in the previous inning.
Vincent Brennan at the plate for his first at-bat of the game.
He wastes no time. First pitch swinging and lining one right back up the middle for a leadoff single.
Now batting the right fielder, number 36, Nicholas Dedato.
That will bring up Nicholas Dedato. That base hit by Brennan, the Dolphins' 6th. As Dedato takes a called strike. Count now even at 1 ball and 1 strike. On deck is Anthony Lozada, another Dolphins substitution. That misses down and in for ball 2. And that's lined into the glove of the second baseman. Throw back to first in time to double off the runner at first base. Brennan doubled off as Dolphins simply cannot catch a break, whether it be at the plate, in the field, or on the mound. It has been as difficult of a game as as I have ever seen this Staten Island team play, and just doesn't seem to be getting better. But fortunately, this loss only counts as 1 defeat if indeed Mount St. Vincent does close this out, and sure looks like that's going to be the case. And you hate to lose games big, especially by 15 runs, but like I said, it still only counts for 1 defeat. Dolphins are right back out there this weekend for a doubleheader on Saturday, single game on Sunday, and that's one of the most advantageous things about the game of baseball. When you suffer a big defeat, you get right back out there with a chance to redeem yourself. In many cases, the very next day, but in the case of this Dolphins team, only 2 days from now.
And the good news is, in the CUNYAC standings right now, nobody is over 500.
I'm never fully informed about the CUNYAC playoff format. Last year, all year long, we were looking at the conference record. I believe it was the overall record, which decided who got into the CUNYAC playoffs. And this year, I think it's overall record that decides it. But again, I'm just never sure. I have to get clarification on that seemingly every broadcast, so I won't make any affirmative statements about that. I'll have to ask before the next time we come on the air. But it was a very exciting CUNYAC tournament last year. We'll talk a bit more about that throughout the rest of this game. Try and pull up some of those results from late last year. And speaking of a marathon, I'm not sure if you were aware, if you followed us at all last year, Nick, but Bobby Drake and I, Bobby, a former player for this Dolphins team, broadcasted, I believe it was 3 straight games over 12 hours plus for day 1 of the baseball championship, or maybe it was day 2 of the baseball championship, and then day 3 was covered by CUNY. But it was the longest day here at the College of Staten Island that I could ever recall up until that point. It was a long, long day.
And Lozada was hit by a pitch, we should mention.
Once again, took the words right out of my mouth as Lozada is on first. John Pomerico, the batter. He takes up and in for ball 1. Pomerico provided one of the most exciting moments of the Dolphins season last year. A call that I like to share with family and friends. One of my favorite calls I've ever made here for the College of Staten Island. Pomerico's walk-off RBI double. I believe it was against the U.S. Merchant Marine Academy. Pomerico looked at what appeared to be a called third strike. He was given new life, as he's ahead in the count here, 3-0. But in that particular at-bat, he was given new life. I was doing that game with Bobby Drake and Mike Babusky. All 3 of us were certain that it was strike 3 called, and with that extra pitch, Pomerico drove it to the left center field wall and won the game for the College of Staten Island. As that skied out to shallow left field, could be trouble, and it falls in for a base hit. So Pomerico is on with a 2-out single, and just getting back into second was Lozada. But in that game last year, U.S. Merchant Marine Academy had to be a bit disappointed with the way that one turned out. And Bobby and I actually headed down the street along Victory Boulevard to the McDonald's on Richmond Avenue, and the entire U.S. Merchant Marine Academy ball club was in there. We went and picked up food, so that was a coincidental occurrence as we ran right into them immediately after calling the game. They didn't recognize us, but of course we knew where they had come from, and that was a late finish as well. I'm sure they had a good length trip back. As Luke Smaya is the batter, looks at ball 1. Dolphins with a runner in scoring position for the first time since the second inning, as that takes a tough hop over at third and everyone's safe. Not sure if that's still Michael Grisanti over at third base. I think it is number 23. That is indeed Grisanti over at third. Eaten up by that ground ball. Knocked it down, kept it on the infield, but he's charged with the first Mount St. Vincent error of the game, and the Dolphins have the bases loaded.
Pinch hitting for the Dolphins, number 33, Kalika.
As we have another pinch hitter for the Dolphins. This substitution coming right now as it's Khalid Zaraya. Dolphins looking to get in the run column for the first time as Zaraya swings and misses for strike 1. That's it softly over to third. Another chance for Grisanti. It gets by him, and then Paulino's unable to scoop it up, and the Dolphins score their first run of the game.
That may go down as another error, Joe.
It should go down as an error, but Grisanti never touched it, and then Paulino backing him up. Couldn't get there in time. I think they're giving a base hit to Zaraya, so until that scoring, nope, there it goes. That's going to be the second error of the game. We'll see who is charged with the error. Let's see who Live Stats gave it to.
Both the third baseman and the shortstop did bobble it.
They're giving Grisanti his second error in as many chances. So Grisanti with a pair of errors, allowing the Dolphins' first run to score. Well, the scoreboard out there is all out of sorts. We have a run up there in the bottom of the 8th inning. No top of the 8th out there. We hope to have our live scoreboard up and running by our Saturday broadcast. I know Dave will be down here at the baseball field hard at work looking to make sure that's up and running for Saturday. As that's in for a called strike to Jared Lerner, getting his second at bat off the bench. Bases loaded with College of Staten Island Dolphins as the Mount St. Vincent Dolphins look to limit the damage to 1. It's Soraya on first, Smaya on second, Pomarico on third. Jared Lerner the batter. And he takes outside for ball 2. Lerner, was he able to hold up, or was that a called strike? Not sure if that was a called strike or they said he went around. Either way, that evens the count at 2 balls and 2 strikes. Here comes the 2-2 pitch. And that is in for a called strike 3. Lerner can't believe it. It looked like catcher, that's Dan Blake behind the plate now, number 16. Looked like he had to bring his glove in toward the batter, Lerner, and Jared didn't like the call either way. That is the 3rd out of the inning. CSI scratches out a single run, but they still trail 15-1 heading to the 8th. Mount St. Vincent by 14 when they come to bat in the top half of inning number 8.
Do you want to retire like a champ? Just like legendary basketball star Uncle Drew?
Don't do him like that, Uncle Drew!
You're already acing the game. You've got your dream ride.
Don't be slamming my door.
Sorry about that.
You just did the same.
Gotta get the boys. Your dream vacation and your dream team. And now you can make your retirement just as legendary.
I get buckets.
Get the tips you need to get on track at aceyourretirement.org.
First time I tried Vicodin, it was laying around my mom's house. And then I kept taking them whenever I could get them. I didn't know they'd be this addictive. I didn't know how far I'd go to get more.
Opioid dependence can happen after just 5 days. Know the truth, spread the truth.
No doubt you're going places, young lady.
Thank you. And thank you for the interview as well. I can imagine it was the last thing that you wanted to do after such a long campaign meeting.
You really are a very intelligent young woman. You're very smooth.
You're very smooth yourself.
You have no idea.
Awkward. I'm the awkward silence. You try to avoid me, then there I am again.
But an awkward silence can be a great thing.
Like Kelly here is about to demonstrate.
And we're back just in time for the first pitch of the 8th inning from the College of Staten Island, and it's taken for ball 1. And the 1-0 is ripped into left field for a base hit by Matt Denorcia. That is his 3rd base hit of the game.
Pinch hitting for Mount St. Vincent, number 27, Dylan Tropey.
Dylan Tropey will be the pinch hitter for Anthony Massero. Tropy lofts one out to second. Should be a double play. And I thought they had the runner over at first, but the throw from Crocco not in time. And good job there by Denorsi getting back. I thought he was hung out to dry between first and second base.
It's a very, very close play, but obviously with the runner on, the umpire moves up the middle, so it might have not had the best view. It might have been a little obstructed there.
So what you're saying is you think the runner was out?
It was close. We don't have any replay today, but you know it could have went either way. And in a 14-run game, I think he should have been called out.
Well, that was my thought as well. And taking a look over my shoulder out the window towards our softball field, it appears as if they're tarping the field.
Preparing for the rainstorm tomorrow.
I have to say, over the years working here at the College of Staten Island, we've been at times a little bit lax when it comes to tarping the field as Lozada makes the
nice
basket catch. Yeah, nice basket catch there by Anthony Lozada. And if that's Michael Grisanti at the plate, he's hitless in 5 official plate appearances. It is.
Now batting the first baseman, number 15, Eric Zimmerman.
That will bring up Eric Zimmerman. He's reached base 4 times, once on an error. He's also drawn a pair of walks and singled.
And the lights have come on here at the field, and it's very nice having daylight savings and not having to be doing this in the pitch black.
The umpire was giving us a signal in the press box not too long ago, and I don't know if he was pointing to us, but it looked like he was staring right at me, and it was the light signal. Wasn't sure exactly what he was asking for while we were on the air, but that is indeed what he wanted. Lights on, and lights on he receives as we head towards 7 o'clock from the CSI baseball complex, and that one's in for a called strike. Two and 1 the count. That's fouled away just over the press box. You do have a camera out there, so you don't want to see that ball travel down toward the elevator. And as we speak, softball field is covered by the tarp. They'll have to weigh that one down, but at the very least, the field should stay dry through the next 36 hours or so, where we do have some rain in the forecast.
And that foul ball, just inches from the front of a car.
We actually did have a fan last year who came up to the press box after the game, windshield completely shattered by a foul ball. Needed to know exactly where to go for some help with that.
How did that play out?
I believe public safety was called. But I'm sure they had to get...
I've certainly learned my lesson from this game. I need to park further away next time.
Safer bet is just park at softball. It is possible that a foul ball could be hit there, but it's not going to reach from baseball and damage the windshield, as that's skied foul toward the Mount St. Vincent bullpen. Count remains full at 3-2, but fortunately there haven't been many situations that I can recall where foul balls have taken out windshields or damaged vehicles, and that's the way we'd like to keep it. Certainly don't want to send fans home unhappy from the CSI baseball complex, though. It looks like many of them, on the Dolphins side anyway, have filed out and decided to escape the cold weather that comes with the setting sun and get home. And I'm not sure Zimmerman knew what the call was there. I think he believed he had just drawn a walk. Instead, he's tagged out, and he will officially go down as having struck out for the final out of the inning. So heading into the bottom half of the 8th, Staten Island trails Mount St. Vincent 15-1. CSI with their turn at bat when we come back.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
She doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
Be nice. She's new. Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened?
Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework.
He hates homework.
It makes no sense.
I don't know how he finds anything in his backpack.
I can't find my backpack.
I couldn't even read his handwriting.
Holding the pencil makes my hand hurt.
I know he's bright.
Why is it so hard for me?
He's
I'm
just
trying
gotta
as
try a
hard
little
as
harder.
I can.
When you can see learning and attention issues from their side, you can be on their side. Go to understood.org, a free online resource with support and tools to help your child thrive.
New pitcher to take the mound for Mount St. Vincent in the bottom half of the 8th inning. It will be Pedro Fortoso taking the mound for Mount St. Vincent to face the College of Staten Island in their half of inning number 8. And leading things off for Staten Island in the 8th is Joseph Manzi getting his second at-bat after coming off of the bench to pinch hit for Anthony Dimarco in the 6th inning. And Manzi lines one out toward right field, and that will fall for a base hit. Well, if there's one thing I've learned about this Dolphins team and watching them play only twice, is that they seem pretty deep at the plate. Whether or not it's the starters, they've been able to pick up some base hits. CSI with 9 hits in this game. Not an explosive offensive day, but certainly one that in many cases you could take. But unfortunately for CSI, they've surrendered 15 runs in this game, and 9 hits nowhere near enough in this particular game, as they've issued so many walks, as we've mentioned time and time again. And Mount St. Vincent has strung together 15 hits of their own. So CSI with obviously a long way to go in this one. This outcome certainly appears to be decided, but at the very least, CSI getting some of these young players reps at the plate as Michael Crocco lines one into center field for a base hit, and that's back-to-back singles to open up the 8th inning.
Double-digit hits now for CSI. The problem was, though, leading into last inning, they had just as many errors as hits.
Well, that certainly is not a recipe for success. And I said it earlier in the game when CSI was trailing by 10 runs that at the very least you'd like to see some of the bats that haven't done a great job so far this year wake up a bit in this game. And same goes for bats that haven't been in the lineup very much. It's hard to get going over the course of a season in limited plate appearances. And in a game like this, you can get some of those young players that don't get as much playing time chances to see some live pitching, as hitting one weakly over toward first base was Brennan, and he's tagged out by the pitcher Fortoso.
Now batting the right fielder, number 36, Nicholas Dodato.
Nicholas Dodato will be the batter. Dodato lined into a double play his last time. And that's taken for a strike on the outside corner. And we've seen some frustrated Dolphins at the plate as well. Not happy with some of the calls that have gone against them. But in a 14-run game, you have to swing the bat up there. And Dodato takes a called strike on the inside corner. A breaking ball. It started in on the hands. That front door breaking ball. Looked inside from here. That's a tough call. But not an easy pitch to do something with. Starts in on your hands. Dodato appears to be standing decently close to the plate, though it's hard to tell as the batter's box has been completely erased. The left-hander hitting batter's box is following closely behind. Count even at runs to 1 ball and 2 strikes. And the 1-2 is taken on the outside corner for a called strike 3. And another unhappy Dolphin will walk back to the dugout after being called out on strikes.
That pitch did seem to be a little low, but at this stage of the game, with the score being what it is, you need to be looking to swing.
Demarco, the 5th Dolphin, to go down looking. It's been a tremendous day for Mount St. Vincent pitching. They've really clicked in every aspect of the game in this one, and appear poised to take another step towards evening up that all-time series with the Dolphins. Still have a long way to go, but one game at a time for Mount St. Vincent. They'll certainly take this one, leading by 14 runs in the bottom half of the 8th. And Anthony Lozada takes a called strike 2. Dolphins not very aggressive at the plate, despite the deficit. Certainly content waiting for their pitch, and in many cases that's come back to hurt them. And that one gets away and will roll to the backstop, bringing home the 2nd Dolphins run, as Dan Blake behind the plate simply couldn't find it. And the Mount St. Vincent lead is trimmed to 13 runs. Dolphins now put their 2nd run up on the scoreboard. For those of you who are still with us, we thank you for watching and tuning in to this exclusive CSI Sportsnet men's baseball broadcast. We understand this isn't the most exciting of games, with Staten Island trailing 15-2, but we appreciate your viewership and hope that we have a bit more exciting baseball throughout the rest of the season, and that has certainly been the case in years past. As I promised earlier, a look back at last year's CUNY Championship, and if you're a fan of the Dolphins, that's something that I'm sure will bring back some fond memories and certainly makes for a better discussion than the current game at hand if you're a fan of CSI, as Lozada tops one foul. But taking a look back at last year's CUNY Championship, easily the most exciting baseball we covered throughout all of last year. It was a tremendous time here at the College of Staten Island, and some of the take a look at some of those scores, Nick. You see the run totals in those first 3 games alone. A team scored at least 11 runs, and unfortunately our Dolphins fans, or at least College of Staten Island Dolphins fans, will have to wait until we come back from this next break to relive that CUNYAC championship run. Mount St. Vincent over Staten Island, 15-2 heading into the 9th inning.
Eva Marie smoked 12,000 packs of cigarettes over 15 years. She quit, and now there's a new lung cancer screening that could save her life. You stopped smoking. Now start screening. No matter how much you smoked, early detection could save you. Talk to your doctor or learn more at savedbythescan.org.
Listen to me. I am captain of the track team. And if I'm late,
She doesn't really think she's going to get out of here, does she?
Be nice. She's new.
Hello, is anyone there? Ugh!
Wow. Even from our standards, you look awful.
Oh, sweetie, what happened?
Me? My friend Becky got to talk to this super cute boy, and I tried to act like I wasn't jealous, but I so totally was. And then out of nowhere, this concrete barrier just popped up. Maybe it was a semi.
You mean you were driving?
Yeah. I mean, I know the whole eyes on the road thing, but this was a super important text. Maybe you have to know, Becky.
Texting? Great.
But it was only like 5 seconds, and I'm a really, really fast texter, so it wasn't even a big deal. Actually, has she texted me back yet? Wow, I get like no bars in this place. I wonder if they have Wi-Fi here.
We just finished dinner and it was time for homework.
Once again, we're back just in time for the first pitch of the inning, as that one's topped foul. Thomas Dunleavy is the batter for Mount St. Vincent. Had an RBI single, I believe. No, grounded out in his first plate appearance. The RBI single came from the next batter, as it looked like Dunleavy offered it a pitch that would have hit him. And
he did get hit.
I thought he swung. Apparently,
first base umpire is saying strike, so he did swing through.
He
but he was
certainly
hit.
did. He certainly did swing, and I wasn't sure how they could have missed that one. And fortunately for Staten Island, they did not.
Double the pain there. You get a strike and you get hit by the pitch.
No balls and 2 strikes, the count on Dunleavy. The 0-2 is fouled back, and that's as close as a ball will get to that parking lot over there at softball. And that is in for strike 3, so Dunleavy will head back to the dugout for out number 1, and that will bring up Isidoros Bartsiokis. That's hit softly on the ground to the right side, and that flip to the pitcher is not in time as Lenahan tried to get there and cover.
Lenahan just a little late there getting off the mound.
Well, 2 players pursued that ball, and that forced him to get to first base very quickly, and fortunately not able to get there in time. Trying to get a look at that play once again on the broadcast, but just missed it. That's hit softly out to shallow center field. It's over the outstretched glove of Pomerico, and it falls into center field for a base hit. Lerner couldn't get there as he plays it on a hop. That's back-to-back base hits for Mount St. Vincent with 1 out here in the 9th.
Now batting the shortstop, number 22, Tyler Paulino.
Well, despite the lead, Mount St. Vincent has not taken their foot off the gas pedal in this one. They've continued to put together good at-bats, not offering at pitches out of the strike zone, and playing the game that got them ahead. As Paulino swings and misses that one for strike 1, but you have to like the approach to the plate if you're a fan of Mount St. Vincent in this game. Certainly haven't given any at-bats away despite their huge lead, and CSI just hasn't been able to get things going at the plate, though it has been better the last couple of innings. The only reason CSI was able to play to run in the 8th was a pair of errors. It was a very abbreviated pregame as we were underway shortly after coming on the air, and if that one had fallen fair, it would have been trouble, but it lands in the Mount St. Vincent bullpen. In a very abbreviated pregame, we didn't get a chance to go through the team batting numbers for the College of Staten Island, and they come in hitting at .270 on the season. Opponents hitting at .314 against them. Staten Island has also pitched to a 7.36 ERA. Very uncharacteristic of them to see their ERA balloon that high, but that has been the case so far. Opponents pitching to a 5.26 ERA against CSI, so it's really been advantage opposition so far this year against the College of Staten Island. Mount St. Vincent, on the other hand, has been much better on the mound, pitching to a 6.63 ERA. Opponents pitching to an ERA of an even 6 against them as Paulino goes down swinging for the second out. Of course, those numbers are before this game, so that team ERA for the College of Staten Island is going to skyrocket following this one, and it's going to be an ugly number in that column come Saturday. First pitch to Christopher Rodriguez misses outside. Here comes the 1-0. That's up and away for ball 2. The Dolphins' bullpen deserves a lot of credit in this game as well. They were able to provide fairly effective relief for Daniel Garcia. It was a rough 2 innings for Garcia. I should say 2 innings plus for Garcia, as that's popped up on the infield. We'll have to talk more about the Dolphins' bullpen and that CUNYAC championship run I was speaking about when we come back for the bottom half of the ninth. Heading into the final half inning of this one, CSI trails Mount St. Vincent 15-2. Last opportunity for the College of Staten Island when we come back.
Oh, listen now, can you hear the bluebirds? Oh, look up now, can you feel the sun?
And we're back from the College of Staten Island, heading into the bottom half of the ninth. CSI trailing Mount St. Vincent 15-2. And before we went to break, I spoke about the admirable job that the Dolphins relief pitchers have done in this game. And in relief of Daniel Garcia, who allowed 7 runs in 2 1/3, Dolphins bullpen, really outside of Alexis Santos, has been solid. Santos really struggled in relief. I didn't realize he'd been tagged for 7 runs. Only 4 of those were earned. Certainly wasn't helped by his defense in the early innings, but Santos came in, allowed 7 runs, 4 earned on 7 hits, walked 2. I mentioned earlier that Daniel Garcia allowed 7 runs, all earned on 5 hits, walking 5. But Joseph DeCelie came on and pitched very well in relief, did not allow any runs, faced 11 batters, did a great job for the College of Staten Island, only issued 1 walk and hit a pair. He did not surrender a base hit, so 3 innings of no-hit ball from DeCelie. And then Michael Lenahan came on for the next 3 innings, and Lenahan allowed only 1 run. He did allow 5 base hits. However, control was not an issue for him. He did not surrender a walk or hit a batter, and it looks like we have a new pitcher for Mount St. Vincent once again.
Nick Sarancic is coming to the game now to pitch, and Mount St. Vincent has done really well with their bullpen today. And I think this is their 4th or 5th pitcher on the day. And another change is Dan Blake is now behind the plate catching for them.
Well, this makes 6 pitchers for Mount St. Vincent, which is really remarkable. They've used more pitchers than CSI has in this game. CSI fortunate enough to only use 4 pitchers in this game, and of course that's coming off of an 11-0 defeat yesterday against Kane. And I promised some better news for fans of the College of Staten Island before the break, and we'll take a look back at that CUNY championship run from last year as John Pomerico gets a bit underneath one and flies out to left field for the first out. And I guess I'll have to be very quick as there's 1 man out very early in this bottom half of the 9th inning. It will be Luke Smaya coming to bat. But looking back at the 2018 CUNY championship run for the College of Staten Island against Baruch on day 1, CSI picked up a big 11-2 victory. That put them in the winner's bracket on day 2, and that led to a matchup with John Jay. John Jay facing the College of Staten Island on day 2 in an offensive display unlike anything that we've seen up until the very next game that was played that night. In that first matchup between the Dolphins and Bloodhounds, CSI fell 15-11 as Smaya flies out to left center, quickly 2 away in the bottom of the 9th. But CSI fell 15-11 against John Jay after defeating Baruch 11-2. So CSI had to avoid a second loss on that day 2 in order to avoid elimination, and they took on Finlandia University in that final game of day 2, and Finlandia quickly up 6-0 heading into the bottom half of the 2nd inning. But as I mentioned earlier, this Dolphins team, you can never count them out. They answered with 3 in the bottom half of the 2nd, added 3 more prior to the start of the 6th. We were tied at 6 aside. Finlandia jumped back out in front 8-6, but CSI responded with a 6th spot in the bottom half of that 6th inning. They jumped out in front 12-8, never looked back, and won 19-11. And then in the CUNYAC championship final day against John Jay College, CSI meeting the team that defeated them the previous day, 15-11. They took game 1 from John Jay 5-4, as that's hit to the right side. And this will wrap up our game here from the CSI Baseball Complex today as that ground out brings things to a close. Mount St. Vincent over Staten Island, 15-2. But last year in the CUNYAC Championship, CSI defeated John Jay in Game 1 on the final day, 5-4. Then in a much more exciting game number 2, at least much more exciting than our game here this afternoon, Staten Island down in that game 7-0, heading into the bottom half of the 8th, or excuse me, 6-0. CSI scores 8 runs, goes out in front 8-6, and wins the CUNYAC Championship over John Jay in that second game by a final score of 8-6. Our final here on this day, not so favorable for the College of Staten Island. They drop a blowout to Mount St. Vincent by a final score of 15-2, and very quickly we'll go through some final stats for the two teams in this game. We have a new look stat application that I have a much more difficult time navigating than the old one, but I'll do my best. Again, Mount St. Vincent over Staten Island 15-2. Mount St. Vincent out hit CSI 17-9. CSI commits 6 errors in the game. They stranded 7 on base. Mount St. Vincent stranded 13, but that didn't matter as they were a plus 13 in the run column where it matters most. And Dolphins just got off to such a rough start in this game, gave up a pair in the first inning. Daniel Garcia simply didn't have his control in this one, and that 10 spot in the third broke the game wide open. Mount St. Vincent never looked back.
And let's not forget, the errors really killed CSI today. 6 errors. And the runs that they got were really helped by the errors by the Dolphins of Mount St. Vincent. So lots of work to be done, but as you mentioned earlier in the game, this is just one game. It only counts as one loss, and plenty of time to rebound.
And that's a great point. We both made it during this broadcast. This big loss, a 13-run defeat, still only counts as one in the loss column, and it drops CSI to 4-6 on the season. Mount St. Vincent improves to 3-5. Our next broadcast here on CSI Sportsnet is scheduled for tomorrow. Women's softball, weather permitting. It looks unlikely that that game will be played. Rain is in the forecast throughout the entire afternoon tomorrow, so it appears as if the next time we will be on the air will be this Saturday, March 23rd, for a baseball doubleheader against SUNY Poly. First pitch of game number 1 at 1 p.m. on Saturday, and then we're right back in action on Sunday. Men's baseball against NJCU at 12 p.m. First pitch, a single 9-inning game on Sunday. And it's a packed schedule for men's baseball throughout the season. We have several men's baseball broadcasts coming up between Sunday and the next women's softball broadcast scheduled beyond tomorrow. So a lot of baseball to be played from the CSI Baseball Complex over the next couple of weeks. A very busy schedule throughout April as well, including, of course, our Grace Hillary Breast Cancer Awareness Night on April 23rd, highlighting the slate of games in the coming month. CUNYAC Championship, first weekend of May on May 3rd and 4th. Still plenty of time before we reach that. And again, Nick, we spoke about it just briefly moments ago. Errors killed the Dolphins in this game. Inability to find the strike zone killed the Dolphins in this game. What are your final thoughts and takeaways from this one?
The thoughts is that the Dolphins of CSI should be really pleased with their bullpen today. They really stabilized things after a while, and this is not something that they should really get held up on too much. It's errors. Definitely some jitters for a lot of these freshmen who have never played here on this field before. Obviously, this is the home opener. So there were some things that are promising that we were able to see today, especially when all the subs came in. But overall, there is some work that needs to be done.
Certainly work that needs to be done. It's a pair of big defeats for the Dolphins consecutively, outscored in their last 2 games by, I believe, a 26-2 margin. And if you go back to their last 3 games, it's 36-3 in favor of the opposition. And taking a look down, that is indeed the case heading into this weekend's games. And we'll be back on the air with you this weekend, first for that doubleheader with SUNY Poly on Saturday, and then for a single game against NJCU on Sunday. Until then, this has been Joe Foreman. For Nick Durst, Chris Nataro, and all of us here at the College of Staten Island, we thank you for watching. Once again, our final score, the Dolphins of Mount St. Vincent 15 and the College of Staten Island 2. Our next broadcast this Saturday at 1 p.m. for a doubleheader against SUNY Poly. If you can't attend the game here at the CSI Baseball Complex, be sure to join us here on CSI Sportsnet at csidolphins.com for that broadcast. Enjoy the rest of your evening.